Peace. Welcome. Got a little bit of noise in the background. Just trying to see if we can get that, see exactly where it's going to be and stuff. There's your helper for His will and His mercy and His beauty. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Can everybody see and hear me all right as we're getting ready to get started? Prayerfully you can. Yep. Okay, great. Awesome, awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being on. Let's get started. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osayana Ketawaya, Ohio. I see you. Manut, Wagwan, Kamsamida, Habarigani, um, Akwaba, Madase, Itise, Jambo, Mimi Kofi, Linda Franco Katana Nuewe, Boker Tov, Boker Tab, Grand Rising to each and every one of you. Chow, I left one of the greetings, I think Aloha, possibly, I didn't say. Bakwat Tav, Barakalat Shem Yahava, Shalom, Anai Kovai, Hadat Service of Christ, Mashalam Chi, Yam. Yam Gamal Shabbat, or I'm sorry, Yam Gamal Shalom, Shai Shalom, Anai Kovai, Headed to Servants of Christ, Mashalam Chi. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being on with us on today, on the move, on location. And we're excited to be in your presence. Prayerfully, everybody is doing well wherever you may be joining us from. We're thankful and grateful to have you on as a family and for us to be able to come into agreement and come together. Prayerfully, everybody who was going through some of these storms and everything, which seem to be becoming more frequent. Prayerfully, everybody was able to be safe and get to where you needed to be. If you are on your way to your work, to your job, whatever the case might be, we pray that you are getting there safely. We once again give all praise and honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma. We give praise and honor to Him for SOC, ministerial staff, moderators, Lottie Dottie, and everybody. If it's your first time, one time of many, if you agree with us, do not agree with us, whatever the case might be, excited to have you on. Today we'll just be coming from TikTok and YouTube, primarily, maybe even only, depending on how some of this stuff goes. So trying to test out some technology and see what's going on. But prayerfully, everything is going well wherever you might be. And thank you for joining us again. Let's say hello, everybody, real quick, and then we'll go ahead and jump into today's discussion. Praise Yahweh for each and every one of you. And it's going to be a doozy. So this one's going to be interesting because I believe more of our diaspora will be offended than usually what seems to happen the other way around. But for great reason, for great cause. I won't say for great cause, but for I can empathize with said cause. So, but we'll get ready to do that and do our Bible pledge in just a little bit. Well, everybody's coming on, and we get ready for that. If you want to go ahead, by the way, if you're able to stand to your feet and reverence the word of Yahweh in any kind of way that you're able to, we invite you to do so with us. How you doing, Sister Dawn? How you doing, Sister Renee? How you doing, Minister Shante? How you doing, Brother Dwayne? How you doing, Darius? Is Pimpsess Kia? Okay. Hello. How you doing, user 654909168, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, I don't know the name. How you doing, Sister Sage? Starts with SJ. Sister Mavis. Sister Mignon. Everybody, and notice we're on time. We're doing well with being on time. Praise God. Thank you for your prayers and all that. How you doing, Peter? How you doing, Sister Irena? How you doing, Sweet? Is it Sweet Victory? Probably. Not sure where Sweet Vic. Hello. How's everybody doing, Brother Joseph? If I miss your name, charge it to my head, not to my heart. We love you, appreciate you. Thank you for being on. By the way, when I say appreciate, I know there's a weird thing. Well, I won't say weird, but I know there's the teaching of appreciate, I guess. But that's not how you pronounce the word, and that's not how it's spelled. And if I say I appreciate you, I'm talking about the way that I To appreciate something is to see how valuable it is or to lift it up in value, right? So when I say that to you, I just want you to know that I lift you up in value. I see the value in you, and prayerfully, all is well with you and your families, all right? But we're going to go ahead and get ready with our Bible pledge, and we're going to jump right in. Thank you to all for being on one more again. And let's see. Okay. I guess because of the sunlight. All right. So prayerfully, everybody can see and hear us all right. Um, and there will be some noise, I guess. It looks like they're cutting the grass in the area, but prayerfully it won't be too much of a bother. Let me know if it is. How you doing, Sister Monica? Everybody come on in, come on in. All righty. So, and Sister Deborah as well. So we'll say our Bible pledge real quick and then we'll get started. And prayerfully, everybody's still on their fruit fast. Prayerfully, it's going well for you. We're doing the fruit fast now. We're in the second week of our fasting. First week was intermittent fasting. Second week now is fruit fast. We're trying to let go of those things that really are not of any value to us, that really are more so cursed than anything else, and trying to get to a place where we can hold on to the expected blessing. Hashtag expected blessing this year, 2024. So prayerfully all is going well with you guys. And if you haven't started with this, feel free to go ahead and start today or whenever you like. Fruit fast, fruit is anything that has seed in it. So, there's a lot of stuff that you cook that has seed in it and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that's raw. There's a lot of, smoothies, all types of stuff that actually has seed in it. So the fruit fast is anything that's got seed. If it's real fruit, right? If it's seedless, it's not fruit. It doesn't count. But if if it has seed, we're asking for you to participate and join us in that. And I'm sorry, I don't know is it LC saying or IC saying? I'm not sure. Please forgive me. But thank you for being on. And how you doing, Beck? All right, here's our Bible pledge. You can just repeat after me, and then we'll go ahead and start. Said, go on and get grapes for breakfast. Praise Yah. Amen. I know some person said they were probably going to walk to the store. Praise Yah for doing that. If you were able to do that with us yesterday, we joined you in that. So we shared so-called religion yesterday, right? Because religion is just anything that any legion of people that repetitively do the same thing. All righty. So here we go. You ready? Let's go ahead. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust, for Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word, Hashem Yechavach, Aman, which is in Yahweh's authority, or Hisham, his name. Amen. All righty. So today we're going to talk about the Battle of the Gatekeepers. How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing, Monique? Today we're going to talk about the Battle of the Gatekeepers. And once again, thank you for being on with us on TikTok, YouTube. We appreciate your presence. Looks like we're having a slow start again on today, but prayerfully, thank you. We'll have others join us. Thank you guys for being on, and probably because we haven't been on time as often as we need to be, probably not a lot of persons who are aware of that, right? Aware that we're actually on time for for a few days in a row finally. Oh, the heat was too much. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, we're down where you are. I guess that would be, yeah, there would be more heat there, but I promise your body probably is happy. It ultimately will be happy that you made the trip. But yeah, but thank you for making the effort. Bienvenue, Damien. All right, thanks for being on. So today we're talking about the Battle of the Gatekeepers. The Battle of the Gatekeepers. Now, we're going to make sure that we're going to have, since we're using some terminology that maybe some are not as familiar with or do not use as often, we're going to make sure it's more peculiar. We're going to make sure it's more specific. So when we speak on the Battle of the Gatekeepers, a gatekeeper is one who keeps the gate. Now somebody says, well, duh. But remember, a keeper, especially culturally speaking, right? We're talking about from a cultural point of view, a cultural lens. So I want to make sure we have proper foundation. A gatekeeper is one who defends or keeps the gate. Now, to keep something can mean to till it. It can mean to cultivate it, right? It can mean, obviously, to keep it away. It can mean to secure it. It can mean to guard it. It can mean to only keep it for certain persons, right? But the keeper, right, and even the keeper is a position that one has. How you doing, Bruda? So even a keeper is one, Bruda Charles. How you doing? So the keeper, right, is someone who keeps, even protects, even is supposed to be in charge of, even should know the whereabouts of a person. So, for example, right, Cain, where's Abel? Why am I supposed to know where Abel is? Am I my brother's keeper? The answer is yes. He says, Abel's blood cries up from the ground. I know what you've done. You should have kept him, but you were so upset that you offed him. How you doing, Minister Tamara? Amen. Thank you. To fill, to cultivate. Amen. Right. So Abel should have been kept, but because somebody wanted to do their own thing and got upset and realized that since they wanted to do their own thing, they were not kept of the Most High. Now, all of a sudden, the person they should have kept becomes the person that they have taken the life of. Right? We're talking about the Battle of the Keepers today. So a keeper is one who has many different parts of their authority or of their mindset or what's supposed to be there for them or in them, etc. Right? A keeper has a lot of different things that are going on, right? And now, but we're being specific now. This is the keeper of the gate. The gate is supposed to be the entryway to the city, right? If you had a gate coming in and there was a city, let's say Shalom or Jerusalem, right? Or even Israel, right? But let's just go with Jerusalem because you would have gates within gates. You would have cities within cities or cities within countries or countries within countries, right? Just like you have a state is actually a country by law, right? So, but let's consider you were going into Israel, ancient Israel, and you go in and there's a gate. But this gate, more than likely, would be way taller than what it is, way bigger. And as you would get ready to try and go to the gate, you would be in a position to where once you're at the gate, you have to make it a point to recognize that this would be closed. And there would be at least one, but more than likely, bare minimum, two gatekeepers, one on this side and one on the other side. And these gatekeepers were responsible of seeing who was coming in. They had to know the will of the master or of the king or of the Lord, right? They had to ensure that anybody or anything that was going to come in was something that was authorized. They had to know, just like in the United States of America, they have a yellow, it's yellow, it's code orange, it's code red, it's code these things. And so persons who are part of different task forces and part of the Coast Guard and part of TS, whatever it is at the airport, forgive me, and all that stuff, they know that, okay, according to the code, we can't allow certain things in. Or when I was in the military, when we had certain codes, everything was shut down. September 11th, we had a gate 4. There was a tank right there, right? The tank was there to make sure that if anybody, the code, that situation we were in, they wanted to make sure that if any terrorist attack was going to try to come or anything was going to go forward, if they came to that gate at the base, everybody knew there's a tank you have to deal with, amongst other things. But the tank was there not only to make sure that it could defend, but was more so for the look of it, to make sure that when you come up, you don't think that this is going to be easy to just get in, right? Thank you for the love. And how you doing, Sahara? How you doing, Culture Prospect? So see, the gatekeeper. How you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Amma. As always, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. So when we're dealing with the gatekeeper has very specific duties. And the gatekeeper has to know a lot about what's going on with the entirety of the city. If not, then the gatekeeper, we might let something in that's not allowed. And if the gatekeeper is an extension. It's almost like if you've been to the church services and stuff that they have, or even just different events and things that you have. And I think I said hello, Brother Craig. If not, how you doing? And how you doing, Benjamin? Everybody who's coming in. If I miss your name, Charles, with my head, not to my heart. Appreciate, love y'all. How you doing, Joe side? So the gatekeeper, when the gatekeeper comes in, you have to recognize that the gatekeeper is responsible. Just like if you've been to a concert, or if you've been to a service, or if you've been to a funeral, if you've been to a lot of different things, there are, you will discover that with this gatekeeping, you will discover that you have a position. We don't even think about them as gatekeepers, but they are. You have a position called usher. You have the usher board or the usher board, right? And the ushers, right? Or even if you go to an event, the ushers there. If you go to a game, the ushers make sure you got the right tickets, the right seats. Movie theaters used to have ushers. Now persons that work there, they can sometimes double as ushers and stuff. But it used to be sometimes back in the day, you'd have persons when you came into a movie theater and you had somebody literally that would make sure they ushered you to your seat. Right? How you doing, Minister Dr. Tamach? How you doing, Dr. T? So you had ushers, and the ushers would usher you, but they were supposed to do what? Do it according to the will of who they worked for, right? The gatekeeper is your usher. The gatekeeper is the one that's in tune. A lot of persons don't know this. So the usher is one who is actually in tune with the pastor. If the pastor wants certain things to move a certain way, the ushers do that. You said you were an usher back in the day. There you go. Right. So you know what I'm talking about, right? But the usher can control things, by the way. The usher might be like, ooh, these people are a little rowdy. Like, let's say it's not numbered seats, but they're seating persons. These people might be like, ooh, it's a little rowdy. Or you might have it where the usher's like, okay, certain dignitaries get to sit here, certain ones don't. The usher might see something that's in somebody's pocket. It might be like, ooh, this person might be dangerous, and might have to kind of hold the fort or at least distract the person long enough that they don't get in with what they have. Ushers have a lot of different stuff, but they are an extension of the leadership. That's right. They maintain the order from entry. The gatekeeper maintains order from entry. Now, what are we talking about today? The battle of the gatekeepers. Right? We are speaking on what? The battle of the gatekeepers. How you doing, James? We're not just talking about anything. We're talking about the battle of the gatekeepers, which tells us, remember, this is plural. It's not the battle of the gatekeeper. This is the battle of the gatekeepers. That means that there are two different entry points to two different types of city or two different types of country. And we need to recognize that there is a battle going on, not just in between, right? Because once again, we say we're in a battle. If we're in a battle, then there's a chain of command. There's armies present. There's a Lord of hosts, plural, right? Not just the Lord of hosts. He's the Lord of hosts, right? There's plural. So that means that there are persons coming out of at least two different entryways. And we better make sure that we recognize that each city, each country has a what? A gatekeeper, bare minimum, one gatekeeper, if not many, which we would say, of course, for both sides, there are many gatekeepers. So I am a gatekeeper. I am responsible for what I do as making sure that there's certain things that don't enter in and certain things that do not come out according to the will of the one who has sent me. It makes me a gatekeeper. Hallelujah, somebody. How you doing, Courtney? How you doing, Russell Graham? How you doing, Mr. Get It Right? How you doing, Achia Isaac? Right? It makes me a what? A gatekeeper. I'm called to keep, to guard, to cultivate, to maintain, to operate, to see who can come in and out, right? To facilitate, to be a representative of, to be somebody who's worthy of not just even the kingdom, of course, but even the gate. Now, watch this. If there are gatekeepers in the kingdom, who is Yehoshua in the kingdom? He is the king, he's the Lord, but who is Yehoshua? Who is the Messiah? Who is Mashiach in this kingdom? Who is gatekeeper? Not gatekeeper, but who is he? If he has gatekeepers, who is he? He is the door. Come on, somebody. Amen. He is the door. So he's the door. Right? No man can get to the Father except by him. He is the door. Nobody can get to the Father by him. Our door, right? I know we're talking spiritually now. We're talking maybe even existentially, esoterically, whichever one you would prefer, right? We're talking as far as example, but prayerfully get the context. He is the door. And even though you cannot see him, he is the only way to get into kingdom. And there are those of us who are supposed to keep the gate, who are supposed to maintain what the gate has given, who are supposed to make sure that you are not just coming up on this thing in any way, shape, or form that you want. One of the problems that's happened is that we have allowed anything and anybody to come in. It's a problem. How you doing, Tanisha? It's problematic now. Come on, we got to be gatekeepers. Come on, right? Like, you're supposed to keep the word. Are you not? Does the word not say you are an ambassador? As an ambassador, it means that you actually live here inside, but the Most High says, I need you to do my will outside. And so you'll walk out of the gate to be able to ensure that the word is represented. Not that you are represented, and not that you will agree and touch and agree with anybody and make sure that everybody gets along. No, that is not your responsibility. That's not what you're held accountable to. You're held accountable to be an ambassador because you're coming out of the gate. Today we're talking about what? The battle of the gatekeepers. We got to recognize that if there's a battle in between cities, there's a battle in between gates. There's a battle in between countries. There's a battle in between entry points. And there are certain things that should not enter. Now, on the flip side, in the world, in the beast, there are gatekeepers as well. And they're not supposed to allow you to just come in. Or, let me say it like this. This is the beauty of this. Gatekeepers can only allow in and out what they are authorized to, correct? We already talked about that. Stay with me now. Roll with me now. Battle against principalities, amen. Roll with me now, right? The gatekeepers, hallelujah. The gatekeepers are only allowed to let in and out what they are allowed to let in and out. They have to have authority. If you go against the authority, you will not be a gatekeeper. In the kingdom, we can only allow in, right, what is Yahweh, what is Yahashua, what is Ravak HaKodash, what is Alacham, what is Tabah, what is Savar. We can only allow in the word of Yah, what is Zara, even Zaravababal, as we talked about yesterday, Zerubbabel. Even those seed that are planted in Babylon, we still have to recognize that it's still Yahweh's seed he planted. So even if it was planted outside the gate, it's ultimately going to end up in the gate, right? In the kingdom, we're only allowed to do that. But guess what? In the world, they have to bow down to kingdom. Which means that when you're sent out of the gate, when you're leaving this gate and going into the world's gate, when you're going into the beastly gate, as long as you are about your father's business and are sent and do exactly what he said to do as his ambassador, demons tremble. This is why at Sham Yahashua, at the name of Yahashua, what, at the authority of him, it says that demons tremble. Now, how could a demon tremble if they're in their own territory? The demon trembles because the demon, as much as we kind of forget it from time to time, the demon recalls where they came from. A modified version of Yahweh's will still started off as his will. If it's modified, it has side effects and it causes it to not be righteous. It causes it to go into unrighteousness, unlawfulness, right? Non-lawful citizenship, right? That being said, though, when we come into the world, as long as we are doing what Yah said, now don't be one of these persons, everywhere I go, it's mine. No, if Yahweh sent you, if Yahashua sent you, if Ravaka HaKodash sent you, if Alacham sent you, if Amanava Allah sent you, right? It's always key. I can do all things through Christ. Don't forget that. Through. No. I can do all things. Okay, get up on a plane right now and start flying it. You've been authorized? Well, he'll just keep me and he'll keep. No. If you're not authorized, come on now. Is it written as it is written? I was trying my best. Holy Ghost said not to use that today. I was trying my best. I thought we're probably going to end up using it somewhat. I was thinking about going to Matthew chapter 4. Right? It is written, it is written, it is written. Everybody's out here, oh yeah, just go ahead and do. But see, we have to be careful because if you're not comprehending what type of gatekeeper you're listening to, if you don't recognize the country that the gatekeeper is from, then you will start sounding like the gatekeeper because the gatekeeper is the guard. The gatekeeper, therefore, might even have to teach you how to get entry. And a lot of us who are trying to get entry into the kingdom are actually listening to gatekeepers that are not of the kingdom. And since these gatekeepers are not of the kingdom, they're messing us up and we're getting the bad word. We're getting the unrighteous word. It is not tabah, la tabah. It is the opposite of tabah. Are you catching what I'm saying? we're listening. You got to be careful because the gatekeeper is keeping the gate, the city, for what they're supposed to do, what their master says. And we know that even some religious leaders of that day and even today, it says that they are of their father, who is their father, who is their source, who is their Abba. Their Abba is Chasatan. So if I'm not careful in trying to make sure that I can gain entry to the city, I'll give up what Yahweh has told me to do to try and fit in. And the reality is that it should not be my goal to fit in. Oh my greatness. The reality is it should not be my goal to try and fit in. It should be my goal to be an ambassador. Which now gets to this interesting place because the kingdom of heaven is not to your left or to your right. It's not to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. The kingdom of heaven is not on the Israelite side, nor is it on the heathen side or on the Greek side or on the Samaritan side. The kingdom of heaven, pay attention, focus. It's the opposite of, it is not there, it is where? It is within you. That's where it is. It's on the inside, which means that now my being a gatekeeper is important because I've got to guard the heart. I've got to guard the mind. I've got to guard the ears. I had to realize that I am in charge of so much more than just giving a sermon. I'm in charge of so much more than just making sure that my son eats his meal. How you doing, Travar? Excuse me. Right? I've got to guard his heart. Forgive me, beloved, but there's a lot of bad bees out here. Self-proclaimed bad bees. I'm not saying them, I'm talking about they self-proclaimed bad bees who would try to take my son's heart. And I've got to guard his heart until he's able to guard it himself. How you doing, Jose? There's a lot of wicked brothers out there who would try to mess with my daughter's heart. There's a lot of brothers out here who say that they the baddest. They literally say that they are a beast. And I've got to figure out how to guard his heart. I'm starting to contact and connect with a lot of sisters and brothers at SOC. And I was saying this last night in the Northeast Regional meeting. I was like, man, this thing is getting wild out here. Like I'm starting to see, some craziness, and y'all are telling me stories, and I'm like, man, how do we even get to this place or whatever? But but we're into these guardians of the beast. Now remember, when I say a guardian of the beast, a gatekeeper, a guardian of the beast, where you get that from? Well, the beast represents government. So whatever's governing us, whatever's telling us we can do what we're supposed to do, if it's of the world, if it's of the beast, that means it's of a satanic government. How you doing, Sister Nadine? Right? It's of a satanic government. See, don't forget, when you talk about the West, the United States of America, the UK, even Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, you must recognize that these places are under what? Western government. They are under beastly government. Don't get it twisted. Just because you go to Africa, just because you go to South Africa, if you go to Johannesburg is going to be run a lot like England's going to be run. Why? Because it's under beastly. I'm not talking about whites. I'm talking about beastly. You can take the white person out of it. It's the government. Y'all talking about the Spanish and the English and the this and the that, the Germanic and all this. They're all Visigoths. You got to know Gothic government, beastly government, to comprehend why they act the way they act. Yes, black and white is a thing. Racism is a thing. But you got to comprehend beastly government. You go to Jamaica. Why in Jamaica are you going to be sitting up there riding on the right hand of the road? Because there was a beast that came in and said, this is how you do it. Why is it that in the Dominican Republic or Haiti or somewhere like that, why is it that you're going to see, or even in the Bahamas, right? You go there and you're going to see persons in suits in the middle of heat. Doesn't even make sense. How do you see that? Because there was a beast, there was a government that came through and said, this is what you're going to do. Right. And so here's one of the things that you have to recognize and realize is that the ones who guard the gates are not the ones who are in charge. They are simply the ones who have been taught, whether they're ignorant or not, they're the ones who are taught and are paid to ensure in some way, shape, or form they get some kind of their consequence that they get is some kind of paycheck or some kind of living reality, some kind of place where they can feel secure or more secure, supposedly. This is what happens when you become a gatekeeper. As a gatekeeper in the kingdom, I'm supposed to be taken care of. As a gatekeeper in the kingdom, you should be taken care of. As a gatekeeper in the world, and a gatekeeper in the West, as a gatekeeper in the beast, as a gatekeeper in the satanic system, they're supposed to be what? At least under the impression that they are being taken care of. How you doing, Sister Etherin? How you doing, Omika? See, so they're under the impression that they're being taken care of. How you doing, Sister Nadine? They're supposed to believe that they're being taken care of. Salah. Which means that the gatekeeper fights harder for the kingdom than their king will. Hey, how you doing, funny silly? Funny silly mama. All right. Once again, the gatekeeper will fight harder than their king will. Minister Malcolm X took what somebody else had said at one of the rallies that they had, and he took it a little further. He said, you got to see there were two kinds of slaves. There was, and we know that this is an oversimplification. I get it, but hopefully get the context. There were two types of slaves, right? There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, he lived in the house with massa, right? The house Negro lived in the house with massa. He loved his massa. The house Negro loved massa more than the massa loved himself. I said the house Negro loved massa more than massa loved himself, right? If the massa said, we got a nice place here, he would say, yeah, boss, we got a nice place here. That's how you can tell a house Negro from a field Negro. Because every time massa say we, he say we. He said, we got a nice house here. He said, yes, we got a nice house here, right? Malcolm X said he heard a Negro the other day saying that our astronauts, he's like, they won't even let them near the planet or on the plane. And our astronauts, right? Our government. He said that's a Negro that's out of his mind. That's a Negro that's out of his mind. Minister Malcolm X, he said, you don't hear these Negroes talking about our government. Our government is in trouble. He said, no, a field Negro will say the government is in trouble because it doesn't belong to us. And they're not taking care of us. And they're not even going to pretend that they are, no matter who's going to get voted in. How you doing, Akhbayas, Lily? Right? That's not our president. That's not my president. I don't have a president. I have a king. Right? But you'll start, but see, once again, it's the gatekeeper, the Sambo spirit. The gatekeeper, he's gonna wear that stuff. How you doing, Brother Charles? Double OG, triple OG. It's the gatekeeper. He's gonna start making you do that stuff. How you doing, Mike 2.0? The gatekeeper, he fights for the government. He fights for massa more than massa will fight for himself. Back to what Minister Malcolm X said. He said when the house Negro finds out that the house is on fire, he fights harder to put the blaze out than the massa does. When massa gets sick, he says, "What's the matter, boss? We sick? Not you sick, but we sick." He identifies with the one who would colonize. This is a strong reality that a lot of us don't want to hear, but this is reality now. It's still going on today. What are we going to do if this government goes down? You know what's going to happen to us? shoot, Steve Harvey. I tried to post it on there and share one of you guys' posts on TikTok. I think I did that yesterday, where there was and forgive me because I know there's some cussing on it. I hope y'all are, y'all can handle cussing every once in a while. I wasn't cussing, but I was letting you kind of see it from somebody else's perspective, who's not me, right? and and the sister came on and she was like, "I'm not saying this is for Kamala. I'm not saying this is for Trump. I could care less." She was like, "I got a problem with Steve Harvey," right? But sorry, excuse me. But where was that? Oh yeah, she was talking about Steve Harvey. She said, um, "I have a." She was like, "I have a problem with Steve Harvey." I'm trying to say because she said it very with very colorful language, to say the least. But she was like, Steve Harvey was doing some interview with Kamala. She said it just so happened he was doing with Kamala. We're not talking bad about Kamala, blah blah. I'm not Republican, Democrat. I don't want to get into all that. That's not where I'm going right now. But she was making this lady was making a point to say she heard Steve Harvey, and Steve Harvey went in there, and Steve Harvey was talking all this stuff, and he goes, "Hey, if we don't vote, they're not gonna give us nothing." And she was, and she goes, "We don't want nothing." Right? That in and of itself we're gonna come back to. But she said, "We don't want nothing. We're not looking for you to give us anything." She said it's like Dr. Umar Johnson talked about, which a lot of y'all can't stand him. But he said, and so I can get sometimes why, but she said it's like Dr. Umar said, your vote is supposed to be leverage anyways. She said that she's a teacher and she's in this jacked up school system, and she sees babies being done wrong, teachers not getting enough, she not making enough money, et cetera, et cetera. She said, if anything, she's waiting for y'all to show her that you're going to do something for her. If you're not going to do something for her, then you're not going to get a vote anyways. That's what the vote is for, even if you believe in the vote. You don't just vote just because. You vote because they're going to give you something. If they're not going to give you something, you don't vote. Now that's elderly wisdom right there. That's that elderly wisdom. That's not that Kofi wisdom. I'm not on that level yet. She got some years on me. She might be 60, 70, right? So she got a little bit on me, right? And she can get away with some stuff because she an elder. They can go ahead and cuss sometimes, so we got to sit there and take it. Right? Right? But she made it a point that when Steve Harvey said, if you don't vote, they're not gonna give you nothing. She was like, what kind of country bumpkin stuff is that? She says, like, why would you be worried about this and that? We're not voting to get something from you. We only voting if you give us what we're supposed to have. Even if you believe in voting, that's what the vote is supposed to technically be for. That's what the vote is technically supposed to be for. Put your coat on. It's not supposed to be used just because. We've been taught wrong, right? But who taught you about the vote? The gatekeeper, the person who wants to do it. And we have to be careful because Steve Harvey is a gatekeeper, not for righteousness, not for our diaspora. Steve Harvey is the same one. No matter how you feel about Monique, Monique's not perfect, but Steve Harvey is the same Steve Harvey that on his show brings Monique on to try and supposedly get some peace back and try to help her out. And what's his way of helping her out? He says, "Hey, you need to apologize. You can't say anything wrong." And she says, "Steve, all I did was tell my truth." Right? Let's be honest. Her truth is not necessarily the truth, but she was honest. She said, "All I did was tell my truth." What was Steve Harvey's response when she said, "All I did was tell the truth or tell my truth"? What was his response? He said, she was like, "Would you go ahead and do this? Would you? Are you not supposed to tell the truth?" This is what he said. Now I can't quote him anymore. I don't recall it word for word. Come on, stop. Me at the Sherry, how you doing? I can't recall exactly what his wording is, right? But he basically said, I could care less about the truth if it's going to take money away from my family. That's what he said. His belief that if I don't keep the gate, right, for the city that I'm in, for the world that I'm in, that I don't get paid by that world or by that city. See, you got to recognize the gatekeeper. You got to, once again, find out who is the one that they work for, who's the one that's paying their bills, so to speak, who's the one that they stand up for righteousness for, or who they stand up for. Right? Oh. Who's the one that they stand up for? right? If you got to recognize whoever's putting who's ever putting money in that coin slot, right? Whoever's putting the batteries on their back, that's who they're gonna follow, because their belief is that they can't do it from any other position. That's what their belief is. Their belief is they can't do it from any other position. They have no power outside of. We don't have to. You don't have. I was just letting you know because I was thinking maybe I don't know how to work it or whatever. I didn't have time to read the instructions. So when we talk about these things, you have to recognize and realize we're speaking on a lot of different things, and we're just talking about gatekeepers. The gatekeepers, they're paid. They're paid. And sometimes it's not even paid financially. Once again, remember, money's not real. Security is real. Oh, hey, big person was saying hello to you. That's on your background. Um, right? But you got to realize these gatekeepers. We must recognize and realize that these gatekeepers, how you doing, Minister Elisha, that they are getting. If it's not, it don't have to be money. It could be land. It could be job. It could be security. It could be views. Views go a long way now. Views and not forget. Hopefully you guys pay attention to cryptocurrency still. But for real, you want to invest in something. Look at if there's a way that they can wrap up, make you get you to invest. I guess you do. Technically, right now you're investing in the view, right? But it's these views. People just want to be seen. And sometimes it's for so-called righteous reasons. Remember, we said just because you have a righteous intent doesn't mean what you're doing is righteous. You don't think that some of the preachers that are preaching stuff that is 100% against Yah don't mind doing it as long as it gets them on CNN? They get to be the cool one. Look, Shannon Sharp. This seems like a lovely moment. I didn't watch it. I was kind of turned off by it. Right? And I like Shannon Sharp and I like Ty Tribbett. But some of you might know this. Ty Tribbett was invited to perform on Shannon Sharp's show. I think the first musical guest to perform. I don't know. And if it is, that's great because he was trying to give honor to the Most High. So he brings on somebody that's popular, all this stuff or whatever, and everybody listens to. Problem is, though, is that Shannon Sharp you can listen for yourself, has literally said, I don't care what you're talking about. You better bless whatever I'm doing, Pastor, and do whatever because I pay tithes here. My tithes are a lot. In other words, Shannon Sharp's mindset is, if I bring something in for you, you better make sure that whatever I say goes, right? Because I'm paying your bills, or I'm paying for your spot, or I'm paying for your big assembly. If I can drop $1 million and somebody else can't drop it 50, what I say is more important and valuable. Now you got to be careful with that mindset. Once again, Shannon Sharp, I think says a lot of stuff in ignorance because for him, his grandmama is his worship, is who he worships. Still, when you listen to him, he'll tell you, grandmama said, grandmama said, grandmama said, grandmama said, grandmama said all day. Right? But you got to hear what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. He'll tell you straight up, hey, if you're going to be my pastor and I'm paying my tithes, which he believes he should pay tithes, but he says in his mind, how you doing, Sister Carla? If I'm going to pay tithes, he thinks that means I'm paying for everything that's here. So you better bless whatever I do because I give you so-called 10%. Which they're not even giving 10%. They just giving a lot more than others. How you doing, Sister Amanda? Now this is somebody therefore who now is getting in touch and having a conversation with a Ty Tribbett. And they're now going to give you worship. And once again, I have to compartmentalize. I know that I listen to a lot of Ty Tribbett, and I don't mind his lyrics. I'm just trying to tell you, you got to know what's going on. These are gatekeepers. Shannon Sharp doesn't get where he is without being what? I need you to hear it. He's a gatekeeper. It doesn't mean that he doesn't. I'm trying to help you out. Look, for example, I'm on YouTube right now. Amen. I'm on YouTube in front of some of you right now, right? I'm on TikTok in front of some of you right now. I don't get paid by TikTok or YouTube. I used to on the last channel, and when I did, as soon as I started telling you guys some law to help you out in the 2020 situation, they immediately took the YouTube channel down. Why? Because at that point, I was actually getting paid off of YouTube, thinking that that was, oh, okay, we can make more money, we can do more stuff with it, cool. I don't have to worry about certain donations even coming into me, the ties and stuff like that. They only have to worry about Pastor Kofi will leave it in the storehouse, blah, blah, right? That was the intention. But the problem is that whenever I say anything against those who advertise, the ones who are actually in charge of YouTube, YouTube is the gatekeeper. YouTube has to say, oh, well, we're sorry. They told me we're sorry, but the World Health Organization does not like what you just said. So you're going to go away. And literally within 2 days, I saw 3 videos that had nothing to do with any violations. Boom, boom, boom. You're done. You're out. Got flagged, and it's over. So when we came back, I've had to make it a point to be like, okay, we will not ever be paid through these groups. I've had persons on TikTok. Hey, now, once again, this is for your personal thing. I'm talking about for SOC. Whatever your business is, you do what you do. I'm just saying for us, for particular reasons, especially because of what we teach, I have to be careful because they'll try to be like, oh, they send me stuff. Hey, why don't you promote your stuff on TikTok? Why don't you pay for the advertisement spot? Why don't you go live and start, the stuff that you're doing with your shirts and everything? Why don't you just keep promoting it, and we'll help you out? Problem is, you said just a little from TikTok gifts. Kind of, sort of, to be honest, not even really. TikTok gift, if I make TikTok $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 or whatever, they might give me like $11, $20, something like that. And I kind of stopped checking on it, and they stopped giving it to me. They stopped really giving anything to me a while ago, so I stopped. I stopped checking on it and asking for it. They keep changing the rules on it. So technically, I'm supposed to keep giving them more information about myself and more and get into the system. They want me to use my straw man stuff and everything, and I eventually just said, I'm cool, right? And that should be the goal, is for us to get to where we're cool anyways, right? So if you want to give gifts, I'm thankful for the gifts. They mean something in the long run as far as they help with TikTok seeing, oh, okay, he gets a lot of gifts. So since he gets a lot of gifts, but we would suggest if you're actually giving the gifts thinking that like I'm making a lot of stuff off it, fine, every once, several times give the little gifts that are really like worth a penny or something. Like, I don't even know how much a gift is worth, but give the gift is like worth a penny or whatever. And then if you want to donate, just donate some other way. Because the reality is that the gift is nice as far as it lets the algorithm know y'all are paying attention. So in that sense, you're investing, and I appreciate you just viewing, right? But if you're investing, right, you're investing in the gift. Don't worry about giving the really huge. I mean, if you want to, it's awesome. It's cool that helps the algorithm too. But for real, you don't have to worry about the whale that comes out of the sea and all these different ones and the moving ones. And it looks like we're going down in the valley and it's really beautiful behind me all of a sudden, et cetera, right? You can just give a little thing, a tap, a like is fine. But the gifts aren't really doing much. It does help with, I'll be honest, the way they have it set up on TikTok, it does help with algorithm, but it's not necessarily, so I don't know. I think the roses are the ones that are small or whatever, but you can easily just, if you're, especially because don't they charge y'all like $20 minimum or so? I don't know what they do. They charge you to buy the stuff, and then you got to use a bunch of it. And but yeah, the persons you're giving the stuff to, their TikTok's not really giving you anything close, like we were talking about yesterday. So I appreciate them, but don't worry about doing anything outside of what you're led, right? But technically, I guess you could say I do get something off of that, but I don't even check it. And so I'm supposed to check, like it used to be, you can go on TikTok and you could just ask for the stuff whenever you saw that there was money in there. You could just ask for it. They got rid of that. Then it was supposed to be you could ask for it once a week. They got rid of that. Then it was supposed to be they're supposed to give it to you automatically once a week. Now I really don't see it at all. Every once in a while I look and I'll be like, oh, I guess they sent me, like literally $11 like for once in the last month or something like that. You go, oh, okay, I guess. And then you keep it moving. so I appreciate the gifts. I appreciate the love. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, if you're doing it thinking that you're putting stuff in, not just for me, any of these creators, if you're thinking you're giving and it's making the creator is making a lot of money, some of them do make a lot of money off the gifts, but don't get it twisted. It's probably better if you really want to support them that you would actually give them, instead of giving $20 worth of the gift, just give them $20. Or if you want to help out somewhat, fine, give them 15, and give 5 towards the gifts, right? Because at the end of the day, the gifts, if that's what you're doing it for, if you're just doing it to help the algorithm to please do what you do, just realize that's what TikTok does. YouTube kind of does it. YouTube does the same thing too, for real, for real. But YouTube's a little better with the stuff. They're more established, and obviously they've been around longer. Anyways, though, I'm sorry. Um, Back to where we were. The gatekeepers. Praise Yahweh. So the gatekeeper is extremely important to recognize that the gatekeeper, you have to see where they're getting their stuff from. So YouTube is the gatekeeper. How you doing, Ramon? So YouTube is a gatekeeper. If you're going, TikTok is a gatekeeper, right? And the persons who pay, so you got to recognize even the person who created TikTok, they created TikTok with the hope that TikTok would become a gatekeeper. TikTok is designed to be a gatekeeper. The person didn't create TikTok so that they would allow persons to become. No. TikTok was created to be a gatekeeper. If it's a great enough gatekeeper, then the person who's inside the gate will pay them more money for their gatekeeping. YouTube was created to be a gatekeeper, right? YouTube actually existed before Google got it, right? And then Google eventually bought it. Why? Because Google, who owns your information, who sells your information every time you do a Google search and all that stuff, Google, who does all these different things or whatever, Google literally is out there trying to make sure that they're in control of information, right? They disseminate information wherever they want it to go, that they can control a lot of different things. And they can even sell it to other persons who would like to be able to do it, who are persons who live within their city, right? And who are but have to use them within the city to get what they need to get done. So Google takes over YouTube. Google says, all right, cool. We already get a lot of stuff on advertisement and stuff like that. People already pay us for information. But if we use YouTube, because a lot of you might not recall this. If you go back to the early days of YouTube at one point, it was like TikTok almost. You couldn't make long videos on YouTube like we do now, right? Now you can make as long as you want. You could have I could do a 24-hour live session. I could fall asleep during a live session, wake up and start preaching again, and YouTube would be fine with it. Real talk, right? I've thought about such things, like maybe we do some kind of interesting fundraiser or something, and we have different preachers come on or whatever, and I'll try to be awake, for most of it or something like that, and take naps from somebody else to speak or whatever, but you could do a long, you could have, matter of fact, some person's lives never stop. Their live sessions just keep going, and they just put videos up and video after video after video, and they make money on the live session, right? YouTube used to be where I think you could make 2-minute videos. Then maybe it was like a 5-minute video. Then it was actually making like then eventually like some of the videos were there that were only like 15-minute videos. Then eventually they allowed longer ones. And of course you can go live eventually. And now it's built up, right? But they built it at first just hoping that stuff would catch on. Remember, YouTube was having fights. Some of them have come and gone. YouTube was fighting against stuff like Vine. Some of y'all remember Vine? 6-second videos. A lot of persons who got popular on Vine, when Vine went away, they just took their Vine stuff and they started posting it on TikTok. And they kept on, so they used the same stuff. So if you're in people like Caleb City, if you even know who I'm talking about and stuff like that, you'll find that they had Vine careers first. And that's why a lot of these persons who are really popular, you'll see like their videos, they're very like, they do a lot of crazy stuff with their faces. They make like all this weird stuff. They're trying to do this stuff because they only had 6 seconds to convey a thought, so that they could get you hooked in 6 seconds, right? So you would not care about all that crazy stuff they were doing because they only had 6 seconds. You wanted them to give you what felt like 10 minutes in 6 seconds, right? So now some of those same people, they don't hit the same. They're not as funny. They barely can do anything outside of 1 minute and 2 seconds because they can't. A short is only 59 seconds, so they got to go at least a minute in order for you to be able to see their stuff and to make money as not just being a short. so they did this stuff. How you doing, Sister Sherlyn? But it was a different thing that was there, right? But YouTube created, they wanted YouTube to become a gatekeeper. That means that you have to attract so many persons to it that now you can start to do what? What are gatekeepers there to do? We kind of already mentioned this, but I want you to think about this. I want you to put your thinking cap on. What are gatekeepers really designed to do? Cultivating. Oh yeah. Provide entry and exit. Yep. The gatekeeper is going to do what? The gatekeeper is there, therefore, to use, watch this, to advertise the will of the master. Who is the master of the gatekeeper? The one who gives the security, the one who says this is what's going to happen. So YouTube's algorithm and YouTube's culture, right? YouTube culture, so to speak, is only there to make sure that they can continue to get money in their pocket. The advertisers don't care about what you, the people, say unless you, the people, stop watching some of the persons that they're advertising with. If they know that you'll keep watching it no matter what, you'll be, see, watch this. You think that YouTube cares? You think that YouTube looks at it negative when somebody gets a bunch of thumbs downs? They'll pay attention to it, but they like the fact that there's a bunch of thumbs down. Matter of fact, they'll give you more content when you put the thumbs down. Why? Because they know that a lot of you will anger watch. You'll hate watch more than you'll love watch. How you doing, Brother TJ? They know it. They know that many of you will hate watch before you love watch. They know that many of you will go out of your way to find out how you can hate Trump or hate Kamala today, rather than go out of your way to find out about gatekeepers. Right? They're using that dark force to attract. This is why, once again, be aware of these things, but don't let these things become your worship. Don't let this get to a place where you start worshiping this stuff. Don't let this get to a place where you're putting so much effort into evil that you know more about evil than you know about righteousness. You hear what I'm saying? Some of you can tell me about what Kamala Harris said in 1997, but you can't tell me about what it says in Psalm chapter 1, verse 6. Some of you can tell me about a Negro that lost his mind, but you can't tell me about Negro lands. That's when it becomes dangerous, see? The gatekeeper is even giving you information to where the gatekeeper knows that if they could just, because watch this, sometimes the gatekeeper is there to keep you out of truth. See, you know, sometimes the gatekeeper is supposed to say, close the gate. And when they say close the gate, if you're on the inside of the gate and they close the gate, you're stuck on the inside. Right? It's not only from the outside experience, but what about when we're on the inside? See, you're being on the inside, when you're stuck on the inside and you can't get out. Everything on your phone is about a beast. Now, all your content has become hating this and hating that. But when in your content is talking about love. I love my Hebrew Israelite brethren. You know I do. That being said, let's be honest. There's a lot of hate on these channels, and there's not a lot of love. There's a lot of ways to talk about why these women ain't this and blah, blah, but there's not a lot of stuff talking about how to secure these women. And this is when it gets really crazy, because now what happens is the gatekeeper, who's been trained to do this by the government, so the gatekeeper who's been trained to do this by the government is when it start getting a little crazy. Because now we see that the gatekeeper, if we be honest, we know that the gatekeeper who thinks like his master, he recognizes that you, because of how he's kept you away from speaking about your woman needing love, now all he has to do is mention your woman needing love. And she so craves the love and needs the love and needs the voice of anybody who would love her. She'll listen to somebody who has no clue about the kingdom tell her about so-called love. Right? So desperate for somebody to make you have somebody who's unhealthy and been so unhealthy for so long. They're so desperate for health that now they'll start listening to anybody that mentions health, even if that person's gonna mess you up. Mm. How you doing, Dish Remix? You got to recognize that gatekeepers, they serve a purpose. And who sent these gatekeepers? Who sent them? For example, going back to Steve Harvey, as our elder was saying, she said, who made Steve Harvey the voice of black persons? He doesn't represent us. You got to ask yourself, who made him? Who made it to where we would think he should be the one to interview any candidate? Any candidate. Hear what I said, right? Any candidate. Yeah, their king their king, their government. Who made? Watch this. Here's the thing for gatekeepers. I need you to recognize this. In our community, your gatekeepers are usually going to be your celebrity, or they're usually going to be your entertainers. Ain't nobody looking. I know this is where some of them get messed up, but for real, don't nobody really care about what Brad Pitt. Ain't nobody really worried about what Brad Pitt got to say about the white community. That's not his responsibility. I don't even know how to know his say. I know how to know his say that. I don't. I do not even know how to say his name. What is it? Zach Gallica, whatever his name is, the comedian. A lot of persons probably only know him from. I mostly know him from. What was that? Those three movies that they made. I can't with Riley Cooper and the guy with glasses and whatever. You know, but don't nobody care about what the Hangover. Thank you. Don't nobody care what Zach has to say on politics. That's why he can come on there. He can have the president of the United States on his program and say some wild stuff, and ain't nobody gonna say nothing, and everybody's gonna laugh, right? Because don't nobody care. He's a comedian. Let him be a comedian. But in your community, you think, see, in their community, those aren't gatekeepers. They have to follow what the gatekeepers say. In your community, you think that your celebrity who has dedicated their life to making you laugh is somehow supposed to be the same person who dedicates their life towards telling you the truth about yourself. See, this is when it gets dangerous. I love me some Dave Chappelle comedy, but I will never love Dave Chappelle as a leader for my community. That's not his responsibility. When he came out with the 2020 stuff, and it was some interesting stuff with the when he talked about George Floyd and all that. Uh, it was very interesting and humbling stuff to hear. It was very short and everything, but it was very nice to hear him say what he said. That being said, when he came out and he said, "Well, you know, I listened to you guys talking to community, and I heard you guys were listening for my voice, and so I didn't think that my voice was important. But hey, since you guys thought it was important, I felt that it was important for me to go ahead and tell you how I felt. To be honest, Dave, your voice is important, but I don't need you to tell me how to live my life because you're not designed. You like as much as you want to say all these things, you're not really somebody who's helping my diaspora outside of humor. You're not really somebody. You bring out some interesting points, but you're not a leader of my community. You're a leader of comedy. But when we, who have been trained, hey, Denzel should tell us about how to live. Dave should tell us how to live. Um, let's listen to this one and that one. Who, you know, we forget that these persons they're gatekeepers. Like we forget that's what they're there for. They're designed to keep you entertained. That's why Kendrick said in that lyric, even though Kendrick is a gatekeeper too, don't get it twisted. But he said in that lyric, keep making me dance, waving my hands, and there won't be no threat. Right? In other words, he was saying to Drake, we know what's up. He said, we know that you out here to just keep making us dance, waving our hands, and there won't be no threat. Right? We know what you're supposed to do. Galifianakis is his name. Okay. Galifianakis or Galifianakis. Okay. Thank you. So, right, you said they are celebrities. They speak where they are celebrating. That too. Right? And they also they're better at politics than your politicians. Because your celebrity nowadays is not somebody who you come see because they can act. Your celebrity nowadays is somebody who you come see because they don't have any stuff on their record. You know, anything that we can say, see, you mess with little children. Oh, see, you divorce your wife. They live very clean lives. I learned something doing some police work. I learned that some of the worst persons you'll ever meet in your life are police officers. I didn't say all, but some of the worst persons you'll meet in your life are police officers. Why? Because police officers, many of them, have to lie on their tests and on their resumes and everything, and they have to pretend that they've never done anything. They've never done anything wrong. And so somebody has to clean up their record and act like they've never done anything. And so when they do that, that means that that person is lying. Because I know there's some of you who swear you've never done anything wrong, but the reality is all of us have done something wrong. Right? All of us have done something wrong. Many of you have done something criminal at some point, even if you didn't get caught, even if you think it's just a small criminal thing. It's just a white lie. It's just a white collar crime, whatever. Like all of us have done something. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of Elohim. Right? So there's not one of you that within your own mindset are righteous or in right lawful standing within yourself. No, not one. But the police officers who are what? Gatekeepers. They sign different things and they have to write out this whole thing and go through all this rhetoric, and they have to outright lie and tell you that they've never done anything wrong. The person who tells you they've never done anything wrong is a liar. This is why I identify with the teachings of Paul quite a bit, because Paul came straight out and told you, hey, I'm chief sinner. I was like, okay, I feel like that too. Paul said the things that I do not do are the things that I do end up, or the things that I do not want to do are the things I end up doing. The things that I do want to do are the things that I never get around to. I said, Paul, I hear you. Paul said, I thought I knew everything, and then I came to the knowledge of who the Messiah was, and I realized everything I knew was just dung. In other words, Paul was a superstar. Paul was a mental intellect that was out of this world. He was somebody that you couldn't mess with before you know him as Paul. He was Saul. Saul, whose name means to be in the grave, but also Saul was somebody who was extremely intelligent and intellect. When they were stoning Stephen, Saul was the one who watched over the coats. Saul was a big man on campus. Saul was great in Rome. He was a Roman citizen as well as being an Israelite sovereign. He was on point. Saul was a big deal. But he said, when I learned about who Yehoshua actually was, I was the person who would have said, crucify him. I was the one that might have been around when he was around the Sanhedrin. Right? I might have seen a lot of stuff take place. He said, but when I learned about who he really was, I learned that I didn't know anything, or what I knew is only fertilizer, is dung. It's only fertilizer for me to get something else that's going to grow. Paul is an interesting case study because Paul was a gatekeeper, and he went from gatekeeper in the world to gatekeeper for the kingdom. Saul is gatekeeper for the world. Paul is gatekeeper for the kingdom. Saul is somebody who knew the law, but didn't know the law with the right relationship with the Most High. Right? He becomes Paul. Paul is somebody who speaks on the same law and says, I know the law, and now I know the law through the lens of the Most High. I identify with that. Because I used to be a gatekeeper. I used to be the person to say, this is why you should do this. This is why you should vote. This is why Bush is doing a great work, because I was coming to the military and my little 17-year-old self had to find out how to be eloquent enough to be able to tell everybody in my family how I was anti this, anti that, and how they didn't have it together, and how Bush was the way, because Bush was going to be my commander in chief. I knew what I was signing up for, so I had to figure out a way to live in that cognitive dissonance. Right? So I had my little Saul phases. My Saul phase, hey, it's all right. You keep running your mouth. I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to hit you in the mouth. I had to come into a Paul phase to where I'll protect my family, don't get it twisted. But hey, I'm okay with going ahead and walking away and you making fun of me as I walk away and calling me names, because just because I can lay these hands on you in one man, it doesn't mean I should. I switched from being a gatekeeper in the world to being a gatekeeper in the kingdom. Right? I switched sides. And when you learn about a peace, when you have a peace, even that surpasses all understanding, when you can enter into this peace, enter into this shalom, enter into this love, enter into this achabah, when you can enter into this thing, when you have a culture for the first time in your life, oh man, when you have a culture for the first time in your life, man, what a blessing that is. right? To be the gatekeeper. See, many of us, we had no choice but to become gatekeepers, or to be trained by gatekeepers, or to learn about the will of supposedly the will of Yah from gatekeepers who were in the world, because we had no idea that there was a city, there was an identity that we could live in. We had no idea that there was a city and an identity that we could live inside of. So there's a battle of the gatekeepers. They're fighting against each other. And might I say this? There's a battle of the gatekeeper for some of you in your own mind. You have the teaching of this one and this one in your head. And you are going to have to make a decision as to which one you shall listen to. Because one is keeping the gate for demonic entities, and one is keeping the gate for your soul. Both are battling for your soul, but one would love for your soul to be in perfect peace. Which one are you going to give it away for? What is the soul? What is the psyche, the psychology of the world versus the psychology of the gatekeeper is going to keep up. Watch this. The gatekeeper must defend death before it defends life. But the gatekeeper has to twist to make you believe that death is greater than life. It is Visigothic. It is Gothic behavior. It is Visigothic. It is Gothic behavior. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to learn and unlearn culture simultaneously. This is why we were saying the last couple of days, as much as persons don't like to hear this, some of you might need to make sure that you recognize where you are, and maybe you're on sincere milk, or maybe you're just starting to get certain teeth in. Maybe you're starting to lose your baby teeth, but you still got some of them. What you're trying to chew on might be too much, because especially if you don't recognize who the gatekeeper is. You cannot enter into the world without permission from the gatekeeper. You cannot enter into the kingdom without permission from the gatekeeper. As much as you keep saying that you are free, thinking that you are separate from them, you are either in the world or not, or in the kingdom. You're either in the system, right? The word world there, cosmos with a K. You're in the world system, or you're not. Everything goes there. You're private or you're public. You're actually universal or you're not. You're natural or you're not. Are you a natural person or an artificial person? These are lawful terms that are on the books. Are you a non-citizen national? Or are you a citizen? Everything is going towards who gets to keep you. Whichever one you're in, right? Whoever's authority in whoever city you're in is who keeps you. How you doing, Antonio? How you doing, Love for Inner Peace? How you doing, Shadrach? Kevin, I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, right? Whoever city you're in, whatever gate you go into, that's who keeps you. So now we got to ask a question. Two questions, really. The first one, you guys are going to answer pretty quickly. So the first one is, do you want to be kept? And quickly, many persons are going to say yes. Some of you already know where I'm going. Because the first question is, do you want to be kept? The answer is yes. The second question is, who do you want to be kept by? How you doing, Pug Miller? How you doing, Muhammad Abdullah? Right? First question, do you want to be kept? Everybody says yes. Second question, who do you want to be kept by? Right? Because everybody want to be kept. There's like a lot of relationships. Sisters, come on now. There's a battle that sometimes happens in trying to choose somebody. I'm not saying for all, but let's be honest, there's some. And some that will admit, especially in the dating game, right? You might go out with somebody and you only going out with them. Why? I mean, he'll take care of some bills, and maybe it might even be as simple as, hey, at least I'll get 2 or 3 free meals. I'm not hating on you. You ain't got to admit nothing. If the shoe fits weird, if it doesn't take it off. I know not every woman does this. And before somebody goes, how dare you? I didn't say all of you. I'm just saying, right? There's some that are like, oh, he makes me laugh. That's great. But does he make me laugh? Mean he gonna secure you? you know. But everybody want to be kept, but then we don't think to ourselves, who do we want to be kept by? Because you can be kept, you can find a millionaire, and you can do everything that millionaire wants you to do, in the bedroom, out the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the streets, whatever. But he might slap you around a little bit, and some persons go for that, right? Because they're like, well, I'm being kept. But what comes with being kept? Some persons will lose their minds. Some persons will be in relationships where they are mentally abused all day, every day. But who keeps you is very important. Because a man that only makes $100,000, right, a year in this thing we call money might treat you like a billionaire would treat you in your spirit. See, that's wealth. That's not just rich. There are millionaires out there that'll treat you like $1,000,000, but there are millionaires out there that'll treat you like your two pennies rubbed together, maybe. Right? Jeff Bezos probably loved his wife in a certain way when he wasn't making as much money. But when Jeff Bezos got to a certain place and they were like, look, you cheating on your wife, we're going to expose you. What did Jeff Bezos say? He said, shoot, well, I'll go ahead and expose myself, and then I'll sue you, and then I'll own your company. Because my wife don't mean that much to me. My money's more important than my wife. He's rich, but that's not wealth. He's rich, right? If she had stayed with Jeff Bezos, she probably stays with somebody who's going to show her all types of stuff. Elon Musk now got that. And forgive me, I'm not trying to make fun, but obviously the woman is not real at a lot of ways in her life. Elon Musk, but hey, that's how he views a woman. So if you're going to be with her, like, you're going to be in a very fake thing. You're going to be in a thing to where you have somebody who's literally trying to go against the grain. You're going to be in a closeted racist person. I wouldn't even say closeted, for real. But you're going to deal with somebody who says that he's more African than the African. You're going to deal with something like that. If you get into a relationship with somebody that literally just thinks that you're supposed to be a baby factory, which, by the way, a woman having a lot of babies, I actually applaud nowadays. Nobody thinks that that's even natural. I'm not saying you have to, but there's nothing wrong with a sister having a bunch of children. That being said, if that's all he thinks you're valuable of, then he's gonna treat you like what he thinks you're valuable of. We don't know. You don't know the culture of it, but you got to figure out who the gatekeeper is, right? And who do you want to keep you? Amen. Bless, praise y'all for the 9 babies, right? So who do you want to keep you? Hey, how you doing? I'm sorry. Is it KT Spirit one? I see. There are 2 gatekeepers, Yehoshua and the adversary, right? And remember, Yehoshua, he says, I am the door. Yehoshua, he says, I am the door, right? Any man that come through me. But they were supposed to be gatekeepers. And you got to realize it's the battle of the gatekeepers. I don't know when. Holy Ghost has been telling, I mentioned this before, Holy Ghost has been mentioning to me that be ready to do some kind of, I wouldn't say battles, I guess what we call it, debate and stuff at some point again down the road. And so I'm kind of, just been gearing up for a little bit of that. But it's a battle. You're going to see the battle. There's the Jordan Peterson against Kingdom, who was so busy changing what you thought about who God was. And now that you've decided to change what you think about who God was, and now he told you he's got a new definition for who God is. He's a gatekeeper, right? He has a lot of great thoughts. See, a lot of, and I'm sorry, I know it's very windy. Is it too windy? It's very windy, and I can't block the wind in the position I'm in. I don't have the vehicle with me right now. Can you guys still hear me? Can you hear me all right? Is it too windy? It's all right? Okay. Because it's probably going to pick up. I don't know. Give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. So we have to recognize. We have to recognize and realize very quickly what's happening. And We have to recognize and realize very quickly what is happening, what's going on, and what Yahweh is trying to warn us about and warn us against and keep us um, out and away from. We have to realize like that Yahweh's will is not being done. How you doing, Rocklat? And that if His will is not being done, how you doing, Robert? How you doing, Lee? Um, Interesting, Robert Lee. Okay, but if Yahweh's will is not being done, the gatekeepers are trying to keep you away from that. They don't want you to enter in through the door. And watch this. They want you to be anti-gatekeeper. Not anti themselves, but anti-gatekeeper. This is one of the most interesting things that are there when you start researching this stuff. That gatekeepers of the system don't want you to believe they're gatekeepers anymore. They're right. And if you don't believe that they're gatekeepers, then they can go ahead and still gatekeep you. And you won't, but you'll go against anybody who says they're a gatekeeper. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this. Is that, for example, in the United States of America, right, they want you to believe that there's no such thing as kingdoms. Now, you're in the republic. You guys, when you say, you Americans, when you say your Pledge of Allegiance, right, or modern Americans, when you say your Pledge of Allegiance, you say what now? I pledge allegiance, you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to your what? Republic. What is a republic? And thank you for the love. What is a republic? And to your republic, for which it stands is talking about a standard, what it stands for. And you say that you are one nation, right, under God, who is your God, who is on your $1 bill, who's your Father God, who's the Masonic 33rd degree Mason, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, right? The gatekeeper wants you to believe there's no gatekeeping. The gatekeeper says you're in a country called the United States. Problem with that is according to United States Code 28 USC 3002 15 subsection A, right? According to that, the United States is a corporation. That's United States Code, United States law, codified law telling you and I the United States is not a country, it is a corporation. So these people means nation, belong to a republic. Republic means kingdom, but it also is a corporation. Corporation means what? Artificial person. So you have an artificial kingdom. They're telling you in law what they are, but they don't want you to believe it. You are an artificial person because you're a citizen of it, of a what? Of a corporation, which is an artificial person. That means that you are a citizen of it, but you are a citizen in debt to the artificial person. That means you are their slave. So you are a slave, an artificial slave. If you ever recognize it, you realize you're free already. You're already free because you're an artificial. If you're an artificial person under an artificial person and an artificial person in debt to an artificial person, therefore you would be an artificial slave to an artificial person. Then why would you keep thinking that you are really in debt to anybody? Now you have to know how to argue this because you have given your straw man and given so much information and given so much authority to these persons that they're going to keep treating you like this. But you are a real person. You are a natural person. Matter of fact, if you get down deep into it, you are Adam. You are Adam. When they say mankind, man, Avda, Paleo Hebrew, which is the language of all creation, according to Jubilee 12, 25 through 27, Adam, right, is not even the first man, because if you know about how man was created, there were men, and then there was Adam, right? There were men, and then there was Adam, right? The man and woman who talked about in Genesis 1:28 is not this 128 or 127, somewhere in there, is not the same as Adam. Adam is a different type of person. He is a different man. He is our seminal head because he is a man specifically created, then placed in the garden, and then Eve, who you call Eve, right? That's her fallen name. Ayazar, who's her name, really helped me. She comes out of him in the garden. You have a specific claim to stuff that no other type of man has. Just because you were Adam. If you ever knew who you were, you would stop trying to be everybody else. Right? Ah, okay. But they want you to believe that this stuff is not real. They want you to believe that there's no kings in the kingdom. They say, oh no, we don't have a king, we have a president. But the president only sets precedent for who he works for because he's the president of a corporation. 28 USC 300215 subsection B tells you that you're in a trust. You're also in a, or the United States is also known as a trust. It's also known as a board. That's why all your trusts, all your LLCs and everything, you got to have boards for them. Come on, somebody. All your trusts, you got to have boards. You have to have president, vice president, secretary, all that. You have to have a board in order to have your trust. You have to have a board in order to have your corporation. But the president, how many of you know a president is not the one in charge of a company? The president presides over, but is not in charge of. If you don't believe so, here's something real simple for corporations, those of you who invest and do stuff like that, right? Here's a simple one for you. You ready? Is the president the same as the CEO? Of course not. Right? Here's another simple one for you. Even if you're the CEO, even if you're the president, does it mean that you have more stock than anybody else? Can you be the president of a corporation and only have 1% in stock? Can you have 75% of the stock of a company and not be the CEO? Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Right? In your mind, you're like, oh, but he's the president. The president doesn't mean he ain't in charge of nothing. Watch this. By law, Congress cannot make a law unless who is president. So we missed this. Congress cannot even make a law unless who is president. This is gatekeeper stuff. We don't look for the gatekeepers. They've convinced you that there's no kingdom, there's no gatekeeper, but you're dealing with an artificial version of kingdom. Who needs to be there in order for a law to go forth in Congress? I'll help you out. Who is it that pays, or companies, yeah, but who is it that pays for these presidents to run, for your governors to run, for your mayors to run, whoever? What do you call them? Lobbyists, yep. Amen, Sister Monica. Lobbyists. So the lobbyists who pay and pay for the commercials, tell them what they're going to say we're not going to give you money if you don't give us what we say. They're the same persons who have to be represented when laws are put together for the same corporation. And in your mind, you think the congressperson has more power than the lobbyist. The congressperson can't pass a law unless the lobbyist says you can pass it. The gatekeeper. They have to try to convince you and I that there is no gate, right? Pay no attention to who's behind the curtain. Just pay attention to the floating head, the talking head in front of you. You know, there goes a teaching. I'm not even 100% sure if this is authentic. I think it is. But there's a teaching that goes that basically, if you watch The Wizard of Oz, The Wizard of Oz is supposed to basically tell you about how wicked these corporations are and how wicked things have gotten in business. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the golden path. Get to the wizard. If you get to the wizard, well, the wizard ain't nothing but somebody who talks big and is a talking head, but behind the scenes is Kurt, right? Look, you could have done what you needed to do the whole time, Dorothy. You had the shoes on your feet. If you get rid of one witch, there's another witch that's coming. They're just it's about right. What is it? The scarecrow, scared about everything. What you scared for, bro? You can go walk. Tin Man, powerful on the outside. You ain't got no heart. Cowardly Lion. You supposed to be out here roaring and stuff. Getting up here, getting your nails done. That was something they snuck in there, by the way. That was crazy when I thought about that. How you gonna have the Cowardly Lion with his nails done and his hair crimped, whatever it was, curled? I was like, wait a minute. right? But Dorothy, you could have clicked your heels the whole time. And by the way, it was fake. It was a dream. It was how you saw everything. Everybody that you saw in your dream was somebody that existed in real life. And when you got back to real life, you realized that, oh, it's just that ain't what it's about. You have the power in you the whole time. You can click your heels. You can stand on business. You can pray. It's on your feet. You can click your heels together. You've been given dreams and visions and stuff like this. Well, we're not gonna go all the way down there because once again, I don't know it to be true. There's a teaching out there. There's some stuff out there that says that's what they're doing with that. Not 100% sure if that's accurate or not, but that's what they say. You okay, sir? Okay. So we have to recognize that these gatekeepers are real. These gatekeepers are real, and they're strategically placed, and part of their responsibility is to get you and I to believe that there's no such city, there's no kingdom, there's no authority, and then there's no gate. And you would think that the person thought there was no gate, that they would test it. But the gatekeeper's there telling you, don't even go that way. Don't go here. Don't pay attention to this. Don't pay attention. I know that as you get closer, wait a minute. I know you hitting a wall, but just turn around. You shouldn't have came this way anyway. Don't listen to the pastors that are out there. Don't listen to those who believe in the word. Don't believe in righteousness. Don't follow those things. Just go somewhere else. Go stay on this side of the gate. Or go through our negative gate. I can't tell you how often it is that I run into stuff like this, but this is when you start, see, watch this. Now that we got this mindset, this is when this stuff starts really picking up. The gatekeeper tells you, you don't need to listen to anybody. Well, then, gatekeeper, why should I listen to you? He says, no, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm just telling you the truth. Listen to me because I'm telling you the truth. You shouldn't listen to anybody. But wait a minute. Hear what I'm saying, beloved. If I shouldn't listen to anybody, then why should I listen to you? Okay, fine. After this, you'll have to, you know what? I like that gatekeeper speech. Listen to gatekeeper speech now, right? Okay. Well, yeah, I like that. Don't listen to anybody from now on. Cool. Do you? But then here's the thing. Well, wait a minute. If I shouldn't listen to anybody, then why should I listen to myself? Gatekeeper behavior. Right? This is gatekeeper speech. If I shouldn't listen to anybody, gatekeeper, then why should I listen to me? By the way, the only reason that I can even comprehend me is because somebody taught me. So by listening to me, I'm actually listening to somebody else anyway. Right? Their goal is to get you to believe there's no gate, there's no city, there's no gatekeeper. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to what you see with your eyes. Don't believe your lying eyes. I know there's persons out there telling you don't get so caught up on the vote, but you got to vote. Don't you realize if you don't vote, nothing's going to change? But then, okay, I'm sorry, you're trying to tell me that. So don't listen to the pastors and the helots and the rabbis and the apostles and all these prelates and persons that are giving you truth and telling, hey, stop worrying about the world. We're not of the world. But you say, but no. Something's got to change in the world. But yeah, things are changing in the world exactly the way that they're supposed to. They're getting worse. So come out of it. No, you got to understand, I live in the world, but you're not of it. And your goal is to stop living in it anyways. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to give you a secret. You ready? I'm going to teach you a little something. When you start making money, I promise you're not going to do the same things that you did. If you go back to, watch, call me bougie, whatever you want. I'm going to just give you a fact, contextual fact nonetheless. All right? I'll tell y'all, technically my family is under the poverty line, but we've made some decisions that basically have blessed us to help us to keep what we have and stuff like that, and to be able to have some generational wealth, even if, and so therefore, since we don't have as many bills, the little bit that we make goes a lot further than a lot of persons have, right? But here's something that I want to make sure that you're aware of, that you know. Okay, you ready? Pastor Kofi will come through right now. I'm in Druid Hill Park, Baltimore, right? And we gonna help people in Baltimore. And when I go to Atlanta, we gonna help people in the ATL. And when I go through North Carolina, we gonna try to stop here. South Carolina, we gonna stop here. And if I go to Chi-Town, we might even go South Side every once in a while. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've done South Side, but I have gone down South Side and helped. And we know persons in Southeast DC and this and that, et cetera, et cetera. But hear what I'm saying, right? I go through there, and matter of fact, we've chosen to live in the places that we have residences, or even places where people let us stay. We've chosen to live in those places where they're closer to where things are kind of what we would call jacked up. That being said, I don't operate in making sure, like, we don't operate in the unsafe place as far as my child's not running around outside. Right? I'm just gonna be honest with you. My child, when it comes to, we might even bike with some of the children in certain areas, but there's certain areas we're not going. Right? We're not going to live in certain areas. We come through and we try to help. And if you take the help and the area gets improved, then fine, let's spend more time here. But I'm not going to call, like, it doesn't make sense for me to be like, hey, SOC, we're going to go and we're going to do a revival next year. Or we're going to do a revival on the corner. And y'all know this in certain cities. You already know what I mean. We're going to do a revival at the corner of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Some of y'all, like, just hearing that, some of y'all go, Pastor Kofi, is that okay? Right? We're gonna have some police officers there. We're gonna bring some protection, right? Because something got to change before I say let's just live there. Did you catch that? Something got to change before I say we're just gonna live there. We might come through and help, and we will do our best, and we will even give resources as much as we are led to, and as much as we can. Okay, April, well, if you need help, if you're still on, you can go ahead and contact us, okay? But putting it on there like that just without, so just feel free, because a lot of people use this in a use that in a bad way, unfortunately. So, but yeah, but you got to recognize, right, that there's a lot of stuff. So I will go and I'll help you build stuff. We gone to dilapidated places where I've gone out in the street and we fed persons on corners. We don't have no problem going in front of liquor stores. I have no problem with doing all those things. But hear what I'm saying, beloved. In the midst of all that, I'm not putting us in a position to where our babies are not going to be safe. I'm not putting us in a position where I know cats don't make sure that they take care of the weapons and protect. And even if they use weapons, they don't even use the weapons correctly because they ain't got no training. Right? I'll go to the hood, but don't expect me to make sure that I invite everybody to the hood to stay there, stay there, stay there. We're not at least going to protect ourselves, or something's got to change. This is when it becomes difficult. I'm the same guy. I know this might even sound like I'm two-faced, but prayerfully you get what I'm saying. I'm the same guy that will say, I'm not going back to Africa to live because Yah says I still need to be here to make sure that the Negro comprehends who he is here. That's a big part of my calling. And I realize I'm not called to save everybody. That's a big part of my calling. But I'm the same person that'll say I'm not leaving, but also I'm not going to stay somewhere where I know that I'm supposed to wipe the dust from my feet. If we come with the word and we're doing what we're supposed to do and you will not change, so be it. Right. But to act like, I hope what I'm saying is making sense. To act like the gatekeeper, right? The gatekeeper wants you to stay in the same place and does not want change. The gatekeeper does not want you to see that something needs to be changed. It's ridiculous. I don't know if I made myself sound bougie then or not. It is what it is, right? The gatekeeper is not should demand change. Do you hear what I'm saying? The gatekeeper should demand change. Yes, no one is righteous within themselves, but even Matthew 5:48 says, "Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven also is perfect." So if we follow perfect will, then that's when you get perfection, because it's not within ourselves, right? So how you doing, Matt Bear? So at some point, the gatekeeper, we have to recognize, we have to pay attention to gatekeeper language. When they keep trying to tell us stuff that we see is not real, something's up. And if they won't at least explain it. I told you one of the books that I wrote a long time ago called Does It Really Matter That Jesus is Black? I wrote it because gatekeepers, this is what I mean. The young babies, the teenagers were coming up to me and they kept saying, Pastor Kofi, what about this? What about this? What about this? They won't just tell the truth about Christ. Like the Bible says Christ looked like this. The Bible says Solomon looked like this. The Bible said Samson had locks. The Bible talks about the darkness. The Bible talks about this. The Bible talks about that. We know that Yehoshua was hidden in Kemet because of the color of his skin. Like these things are there. Like it doesn't mean anything as far as your salvation, but why is it a big deal for us to just tell the truth? Like, why do we have to be colorblind? Can we just admit that he was Black, by today's standards, and then still be able to move on? Right. Well, not only does it stand to reason that, right? We talked about this the other day, right? That if you look at how he's described in Yehoshua, the Messiah, is described in Revelation 1:14 and 15. If you look at how the European monks described the Moors in the 1700s, they described them the same way, just about. Right? I invite you guys to look that up because last time I read it on here, persons were so frustrated about what I said that they said that I was spitting hate speech because I literally read, not even didn't say anybody was better than anybody. I literally read how they described the Blackamoors. People got upset, right? TikTok got upset. So, but I'm just saying, right? So I end up writing a book to be like, yeah, as far as your salvation is concerned, this and that, whatever, you can be grafted, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, who cares if, as far as color from that end, but if we're going to tell the truth like we're supposed to about everything, then yeah, like it stands to reason that if he was extremely dark, then by today's standards, you would call him Black. So, like literally, it was a thing where I was just like saying like, okay, so the answer is yes and no, technically. Like the answer is yes, it matters if we're telling the truth. The answer is no, it doesn't matter as far as your salvation. And both are true. But a gatekeeper would get you and I to say, see, you're being a reverse racist. See, you hate everybody. See, if they don't look like you, you're trying to say, no, I'm not saying any of that. Just because somebody else was trying to say that if he wasn't white, he wasn't worthy of worship, doesn't mean that when I described him as being Black, that now all of a sudden I'm saying his blackness makes him worthy of worship. Right? I believe that I am Black, and I believe that I am comely. I believe that I am handsome. I believe that my wife is all right for her to be Black, and it's all right for her to be beautiful. That doesn't mean that if I run into another Black person, I automatically assume that they're righteous. Right? Because not all skin folk is kinfolk. Not all Israel is Israel. And just because I run into a white person doesn't mean my automatic response is you must be evil. Right? Somebody else, the gatekeeper for another kingdom, was the one who introduced that to you, not me. That wasn't me, beloved. As much as persons say you're the problem because you mentioned it, I'm not the one that put it in place. And I'm not the one that downs Pastor John Brown. Pastor John Brown and I, we down, we boys. That's my elder. That's my pappy. That's my father from another mother, father from another grandmother. How about that? Right? I'm not the one that clowns John Brown, not my culture, not my diaspora. We love John Brown because John Brown was willing to give his life for us. The Irish that died in Texas with us and for us. Oh yeah, all day, every day. The Irish who help over when you go over there to Dublin or to Liverpool, whichever one. No, Liverpool is England. When you go over to Dublin and you see the monument over there, right? Because of the love that we have for each other and how they've taken care of us and we taking care of them. They got no problem with them. I don't have any qualms with them. The person that taught you about black and white, that has nothing to do with me. You only look at black and white from a cultural perspective. As a matter of fact, you look at it from the wrong cultural perspective, and you don't want to tell the truth. Because if you want to tell the truth about the Greeks weren't even what you call white either. Right? Forget black and white, like we were talking about earlier. You don't want to talk the truth about a Visigoth. You don't even know what a Visigoth is, and that if you know what a Visigoth is, you know there's no difference between a Spanish person and an English person and a German person and somewhat a Russian person. They're the same people. That's why they're literally married into the same people. You know, you guys might know about World War One. World War One, the Kaiser, right? Kaiser, by the way, is just another word for what? Caesar. The Kaiser of Germany and everything, and when everything went down, right? The Kaiser was the grandson of the Kaiser of Germany. He was the grandson of the Queen of England at the time in World War One. That was his mama, or that was his, you know, his grandmama. Excuse me, right? What's her name? Something Jane, who was a I guess, you know, she was Wild Wild West, but she was a woman who was an expert marksman, and she did a lot of shows with guns and stuff. She actually put on the show. She was so great at what she did. She was invited, Calamity Jane, maybe, I'm not sure, but she was invited to go over to England and put on a show for the Queen of England and her grandson, who's who? The Kaiser, because that's what you did within their families. All these royal families, they were family members, and she had her son, her grandson, there present to see the show. And eventually, when World War One happened, World War One, everybody was against Germany. So the same woman that was invited, she actually writes a letter. This stuff you can look up yourself. She writes a letter back over to the Queen of England and back over to the Kaiser, right, her grandson, and says, "Hey, I want to do that show again," because during the show when they were in England, the Kaiser had said, "I bet you can't shoot the ashes off of my cigarette," and she did it. So this time, since they were enemies, she was making a point, kind of in jest, but also kind of being real. Like, hey, we enemies now, and to be bold and let everybody know how big and bad she was like, hey, you want me to come over there again? This time, I won't just hit the ashes on your cigarette. I'll hit your head. These persons are still in control, still in charge. We told you these persons are married into each other. What's his face? Who's the guy that was having heart attacks, and y'all can see the veins in his hands, and he was pausing when he was talking. He was a Republican over the Republican Congress, part of Congress, and then he was finally retired or forced to retire or whatever. What's his name? Mitch McConnell. Oh, it's Annie Oakley. I think you're right. Annie Oakley. That's right. It is Annie Oakley, because whenever I hear her name, I always be thinking, Annie, are you okay? Right? You're right. It's Annie Oakley. But Mitch McConnell, y'all were anti-China. Republicans were anti-China. Mitch McConnell is married. His wife he's married to is Chinese. Her father is literally Chinese citizen, right? And her father's a Chinese citizen, is part of the most right of right Chinese parties, and he hates the United States of America, but loves them enough to do business with them, of course. So Mitch McConnell is his in. Y'all were so busy talking about Biden, who's married into the Chinese family or whatever, or at least does a lot of business with them. But y'all don't talk. I mean, shoot, y'all wearing Nike. Nike's in business with them too. Y'all hoping that Nike supports Colin Kaepernick, even though they supported him as long as y'all wanted to hear about it. Then once y'all didn't care anymore, like, hey, nobody even cares that Colin Kaepernick might be able to get back into the NFL. It's going to be through coaching. Nobody even cares about that because, hey, he was just there. He served his purpose. Go ahead, let him go. Right? These gatekeepers have you to where eventually this stuff doesn't even exist anymore. Give it 40 more years. What you going to be saying about Colin Kaepernick then? Give it 20 more years. To be honest with you, give it 20 more days after I say this, because some of you don't even care to say it anymore anyway. How many are you going to say Black Lives Matter? Now we know what Black Lives Matter really stood for, but I'm just saying. Right? This stuff is designed. There are gatekeepers, and I want to go into this part of it as well. It would be, it would be, I would be wrong in every way to not make sure this is brought up. If we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter as well, or any of this stuff, let's keep it a buck. The way the gatekeeper thing works, more so than anything else, is not just that the gatekeepers belong to the other side. Not only that the gatekeepers want you to believe there's no gatekeepers, but let's be honest. The best gatekeepers are the ones that look like you and I. Cool. Yeah. The best gatekeepers are the ones that look like you and I. Real talk. The best ones are the ones that say that they believe in the Bible. Because you're not gonna fight against them that much. If hold on one second, y'all. Salama, if you want, I don't know, because it might be more comfortable in those seats on the bench. I can look at you from here if you want, or if you want to just stay here. Okay, cool. No problem. Right. But the best gatekeepers are the ones who look like you and I. Real talk. And we make in our mind, because there has been so much, and I'm not trying to say it doesn't exist, but hear what I'm saying. In our mind, because there's been so much black, white, in our mind, because it's man versus woman, because in our mind it is what's going on. It's off. Oh, it's not working. It's batteries in. Okay. In our mind, because we believe in so much of that stuff, we look for anything that looks close to us. Matter of fact, to be honest, we look for stuff that looks close to us because anybody that seems to be successful who looks like us, we're looking for anything that's success. Anybody who seems to be somebody who would speak into our lives in any kind of positive manner, we try to automatically give them the space of being listened to automatically without studying, because we have been so oppressed. We have so much stuff that is repressed. We have so much post-traumatic slave disorder, and so much post-traumatic stress disorder, and so much post-traumatic slave syndrome, that anything that looks like us, right, that is successful, is what we'll go towards. And I hope you caught the wording that Holy Ghost is using. Anything that looks like us, that looks successful, meaning those who are successful, who have our hue, are usually those who do not live as we should live, or they live opposite of how we live. You said, well, why are supposed to try the spirit to see if it's a velachem, to search the scripture for yourself, research. Yeah. So a lot of stuff is going to happen is because, watch this. I'm going to say it like this. Prayerfully, everybody gets what I'm saying. When being black in itself is a traumatic experience, you'll look for anything that's not black to verify who you are. So those who are black in color but make money, our first response must be, what did you do that doesn't look like us? Right? Everything that we're trying to get is always, white people make money like this and blah, blah, whatever. Yeah, but also these so-called white people you're focused on, those particular white people are the same white people who make sure that if it doesn't benefit them, they don't do anything for anybody. So what do you hear a lot of us saying now? We sound like what? We sound like the oppressor. We sound like the gatekeeper of the oppressor. We keep the oppressor. We keep his gate. We keep his door. So you hear stuff like this. This is when it gets crazy. I believe, by the way, may I say this before I start on this part, right? We get into the last hour. I believe, beloved, that you deserve to take care of yourself. Self-care is important. Do you hear it? Do you hear me? I'll say it again. I believe, beloved, that self-care is extremely important. All right. I also believe, though, that some of us have been taught to care about ourselves to the point to where we forget that you've been given a calling, and your calling is based upon how well you take care of yourself. True. Your calling is also based upon taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Right? Your oppressor will take care of anybody who will make sure that he can still be taken care of ultimately. And while I know that I'll be taken care of, don't get it twisted. My first, I won't say my first responsibility, but basically my responsibility ultimately is what? I haven't been called to preach to me. I have preached many sermons to myself. I have preached sermons to the trees. I have preached when nobody's shown up for a service in person. I have preached when 75 people said, yes, we're coming, and 2 or 3 people showed up. Right? But you're not called just to take care of you. So self-care is extremely important. Get the nails done, baby girl. It's important that you feel great. Get your feet done. Go to the chiropractor. Right? Get the little tools on from Amazon. You know, you can get some as cheap as $30, some $50. Get them little tools to put on the bottom of your feet, deal with that plantar fasciitis. Right? Take care of yourself. Get those what is it, those water things or whatever, those tubs things that you put and that have the electronics and they take all the toxins out of your feet. Stand in the grass outside in the sun and let the toxins come out of your feet. Do it all. Praise Yah. Get every massage that you deserve to get and get it from Sister Joy. Right? And support SOC, especially if you're in the Georgia area. Get all of them. Right? Give her a little gas money and give her what she's got asked for and have her come to your place and get your monthly massage, whatever you need, your weekly massage, whatever you need, all that stuff. That being said, though, you haven't been called. I know she's getting ready to elevate the massage and other things. I'm just saying, right? But that you haven't been called, beloved, to only take care of yourself. And the gatekeeper knows that we love to hear sermons. Now, we don't want to always call them sermons, find motivational speeches, YouTube videos. We like to have affirmations that make it a point to say, take care of you, take care of you, take care of you. Forget everybody else. Take care of you. They're not on your level. Why you listen to blah, blah, take care of you. And that's some of that stuff is true. But don't forget that your responsibility is not just for you. I've said this before. If your vision is only big enough for you, then you'll be able to take care of you. But you can't be mad when you can't do but so much outside of yourself. How come I can't take care of the babies? Your vision is too small. I said this before. Go to Brooklyn, go to Southeast DC, go to Alexandria, Virginia, go to some of these places that my boys used to be at when we was young, be on the corner, smoking a cigarette. They be, you drink alcohol, do whatever. They still there with the same MD 2020 in their hand. Same Steel Reserve 211. I know that stuff ain't even the greatest stuff or whatever. It's what we could afford. That stuff tear your system up. But that's all we had access to. Right? Still there selling them ports. Them singles now them went up to $1. $1 a single. Say selling them looses, but they still selling them. I don't even know what the loose is, probably like $2.50 a single in New York. The way y'all stuff is up. Right? I'm just saying, same brothers on the same corner, talking about the same stuff. They look great for the corner, but you try to ask them to do anything outside the corner, they don't work well. And a lot of your visions are the same way. And the gatekeeper knows that you're okay with just taking care of you, but you can't. You got to comprehend. Even the ones that work for the gatekeepers, right? This isn't a gatekeeper necessarily. This is one of. Well, actually, he's a gatekeeper still, but whatever. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had to make sure that he sold stuff to you guys. See, you must comprehend. When somebody buys Jordans, I'm not saying it's righteous. Just hear what I'm saying. When somebody buys Jordans, you think they're buying shoes? If you think when somebody buys, and this is for any of you, by the way, this is business 101, right? Let's just open this up. When you're not, when you get some Jordans, you're not buying Jordans for real. Beloved, you're not buying Jordans. You know what you're buying? You're not buying Jordans. What do you think you're buying? You're buying an experience. You're buying a class, right? That cat who can't afford to feed his family, but if his baby's got them $75, I'm talking about his newborn baby got some $75 Jordans on, he can't pay his rent. But you can't take away that his baby's got Jordans on. Now, that's a wild mentality, but he's been under the tutelage of a gatekeeper, right? The person thinks that when they buy the Jordans, they're buying a new class. Right. to show off. This is why Rent-A-Center has started renting out Jordans. And if they're renting out Jordans, it's only a matter of time before they start renting out clothes. And cats gonna be paying $20 a week for some Jordans, hoping they can pay them off in 2 years. Do the math. 20 times 24. Right? They do this because they have a gatekeeper mentality, and that's just with the Jordans. That's just with the Jordans. So you got to recognize that that's just with the Jordan shoes. But there's a lot of stuff that are Jordans to persons. Oh, come on. Let's not get into Coco Chanel. That's worse than the Jordans. Right? But once again, like I said, this stuff gets deeper. They're preying on these children. These are predators. This is predatory behavior. Your child is looking at views like their shoes. Yep, Trump is selling shoes. Yep. Been selling the shoes, right? Since at least a couple months, 2-3 months, maybe last year, I can't even recall. So, and it's the same thing, by the way. The gatekeeper got you on this. They protect Bill Gates. Why is it that you listen to Bill Gates? Well, first of all, they told you Bill Gates is worth a certain amount of money. Is any human being worth any amount of money? The only time that you think of a human being as being worth some money, just roll with me. I know it feels like I'm probably being random at this point, but stay with me now. Because they're trying to make you believe there's no such thing as gatekeeper, no need for kingdom, and the gatekeepers, they look like you. Look, it used to be ridiculous. It used to be crazy to say that somebody was worth a certain amount of money. The only reason you would say that somebody was worth a certain amount of money was unless you were holding that person ransom. That means that it was illegal activity, right? It was a seedy, dark, dank business that you were in to think that you would have somebody be valued. I would have to hold you ransom. I would have to steal you from where you were in hopes that your family would give up a bunch of what they were, or basically almost everything that they had sometimes even, because they knew that what they had wasn't supposed to be worth your life. But then persons had to start out of this weird behavior, this perverted behavior, this evil behavior. They had to start, hear what I'm saying now, out of this evil and nasty and decrepit and disgusting behavior, they started saying to themselves, oh, this is what we need to do, right? We need to start figuring out how much is our limit for saving our family member. They had to start saying that to themselves. What is the limit that we'll spend? We'll only spend a certain amount of money for our family member. What is it that we will allow to happen to that family member before we say, okay, right? Like if they send us an ear, maybe we'll send something. If they send us a finger, maybe we'll send something. I can't remember. There's a famous person who's, at least they became famous, or their son became famous, something like that. Their family became famous later on. But there was a guy, he was kidnapped, and his grandfather wasn't really involved in his life. His grandfather was rich, but never really did anything for his family coming up. He gets kidnapped. I can't recall who this is, but I know this is a famous person. I can't recall this off the top of my head. You guys will know at least the family name if I can recall it. But anyways, if you look it up, maybe you'll find it. But he gets basically he gets kidnapped. His grandfather is like, I'm not going to pay. They asked the family for an extreme amount of money. Grandfather's like, I'm not going to pay it. Basically, I don't deal with terrorists and stuff. And if you guys had raised my grandson better, he wouldn't have been in the position to even get kidnapped. So bump it, like let him whatever, right? Eventually, they cut off the ear of his grandson. He doesn't send the full amount. He sends a piece of it, but enough to where he's like, all right, y'all will let him go if I send this. And then they're like, yeah, he sends a piece of it. And then basically he comes back, and his grandson famously lived the rest of his life without an ear. Right. It's Lindbergh. It might be. I don't know for sure. It could be. Um, right? But that's the stuff that started coming out of it. That's ransom type behavior. Nobody's supposed to be walking around talking about somebody has a value. Is it Getty? Okay, once again, whatever names, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying whoever it is. So there might be multiple times this happened. Probably is. It would make sense if there's multiple times this happened. But that's something that happened out of what? A ransom. In your mind, though, you're taking ransom behavior, decrepit behavior. How you doing, Miss Q? You're taking decrepit behavior where persons are kidnapping each other, and you're trying to say this is how we value each other. See, somebody literally changed our mindset on something. We should never be thinking about these things, right? That's not how we operate. Nobody, no human life has a value on it, but we devalued it. We devalued it in chattel slavery. We devalue it in death row. You devalue it. Well, that person did something to my family member, so therefore their life is now. Since they said my family's life is worth nothing and their life is worth nothing, we devalue. That hood shot my boy, and so we gonna shoot at they boys. We devalue it. Watch these movies and stuff, and we can't wait to see all these things. And we love. It's a joke now. It's actually a joke. It's a meme. Ricky, right? That's a meme. But that's a scene where somebody's life is taken. Right? That's a scene where somebody's life is taken. But in our minds, we devalue life so much that that's something we laugh at. And I get it. I get why we laugh at it. I'm not saying that it can't have any humor, but hopefully you get what I'm saying, right? It's uh, so when we say that somebody's life is worth something, right? And so now here's where it gets really interesting on top of that. This gatekeeper mentality. We got to let go of this stuff, especially during our fast. We got to start releasing this. I told you, y'all's going to start revealing some things to us, and we're going to have to start being ready to release ourselves or let go of some of these things so we can actually operate in what we're called to operate in. Okay? Here comes something else. How you doing, Purple Rain? Here comes something else. The same way now we look at it, we say that person is worth a certain amount of money. Now you think that person is an expert in something and you'll listen to them just because they made a certain amount of money. Right? Bill Gates didn't invent anything having to do with Microsoft. He bought the technology and then he presented it. Bill Gates didn't invent it. Bill Gates is out here though telling you to start taking the lives of African children. You say, no, he's not. He's just trying to make sure that he sterilizes women and that he's trying to make sure that women can have control over their bodies by us telling them that they need to start having abortions. Did you not hear the language you're using? He's starting to tell you. He's telling you. He's saying we need to tell them, teach them to stop having life. And it's under the auspices, it's under the the falsehood, the false narrative that everybody in Africa is poor. I know many of you are so separated from yourselves that in your mind, Africans always got the, especially when we're growing up, it had to be the child who had a big stomach because they're, and had the fly in their eyeball, and it was only for $2 a month. You could make sure that some child was actually eating, and even though come to find out that child wasn't going to really get any of the money that you were giving them, right? Maybe you watch those late night things you weren't supposed to be up, and you would see those things come on the television. But the reality is that a lot of cats in Africa, they're better off than we are. I'm not saying all, but see, watch this. You can't sit up there and talk about, oh, well, there's mines here, there's mines here. Do you know that there's places where there are mines? See, this is where they try to get you. Well, you're out here talking about Africans, but you're using the phone and blah, blah, this, that. Do you not know that there are places where there are mines and everybody actually gets paid better wages than you do here in the United States of America, and the mine is clean and pristine and all that? There are some mines where there's slaves, but there's a lot of places where they're not slave mines either. Like in Africa, if you buy a house, what you paying taxes for? If you buy a house, it's yours. There's a lot of places to where when you get the stuff in Africa, like your house is carved out better than it is here. There's African car makers. You would never think so. But some of the best and most expensive cars are African cars, but you don't think about them because in your mind it's got to be European cars. If it's not a European car, then you don't want it. You wouldn't even think to be like, is there an African car? I was talking about this with Elder Ahmed the other day. I was like, when it comes to owning stuff, or when it comes to even making our own, like we make a lot. So-called black persons around the world, we make a lot of stuff. I was like, the distribution is what gets us. Because if you own it, if you really want to have your own company, for example, there's black people today, right now, today, that are going to make all over the United States of America are going to make cars from scratch. And I'm not talking about, great leather and stuff too. I'm not talking about making cars from scratch as far as for another company. That happens all the time too, right? I'm talking about there are persons of African descent, Native descent, black, one drop black blood rule, whatever it is that you want to go by, that are going to literally today make cars from scratch, or are in the process of making cars from scratch, carving every single piece of material. And if we sold into them enough, what the part that's missing is the distribution. See what Ford did. Ford had to get help from what's his face, from at least so the teaching goes. Ford had to get help from George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver, who was great with plants. He gave him technology through the plants and stuff that he did to help him to start to run something called a plant, the power plant. Right? George Washington Carver and Ford are very close friends. Right? A lot of people don't know that. they were very close friends. And George Washington Carver basically told him that he would help him out to come up with the technology to be able to have the plant. That's why you call it a plant. It doesn't make sense to call something a plant that has all the waste and everything there is. The reason it's called a plant is because it's based off of the technology that George Washington Carver made, and so he called it the plant because it was based off of plant life. Right? So here it is, that Carver. Yeah, That's that's the one that I normally like to talk about because, Ghanaian, right? Kantanka, right? But there's other ones too. But that's the one. They make it difficult for you to buy it outside of the state. Matter of fact, they make it really hard for you to buy it inside the state of Ghana or the country of Ghana. But it's there. It's worth it if you get one. It's a beautiful vehicle. That being said, at least as far as it looks different than your other cars. But if some people like Teslas, then there's no way to me you're not going to like the Kantanka. But it is what it is. But where was I at? Well, George Washington Carver, he is somebody who helps out to get that plant together for Ford. So what Ford is able to do at that point is he's able to distribute. This is the thing that we have. I was saying that, Prince, even when Prince finally got his master's own, Prince had a problem because Prince he couldn't distribute. So he still has to sign with others for distribution, right? The distribution, like, especially when you got CDs, records, stuff like that, somebody has to make the records, make the CDs, get the plastic materials, mail it everywhere, do all that stuff. So persons now, even when you hear these persons own their own masters, so they got their own music companies, you still dealing with distribution because we don't distribute our own stuff. So we still have to go through somebody else, and therefore they still have to tell us, right? We can't distribute our own tickets. We have to go through Ticketmaster and through all these other places that you hear, these places that you get tickets through. Is it Snub Hub or something Hub or Ticket Hub? I don't know these names of these places. But when you go through these places to get your tickets, they're owned by the same persons who own your record labels or own the sports teams or own this. So you have to still, no matter what it is, when you say you're doing your own thing, they still have to allow you. And sometimes they might up the prices on what you're doing. StubHub, thank you. They might have to up the price on what you're doing because you have to go through them. Somebody has to distribute, somebody's getting the information out. Everybody's looking for the information through their stuff. So once again, what is going to be our prism? What are we going to do? What is going to be our prism? What's going to be the lens that we use? This is why we try to say, hey, hashtag SOC, make sure you're supporting. If you even don't have the stuff, even if we don't have it on the page, and even though I had this, hey, please just go and make sure that you ask me, ask somebody, ask anybody, hey, does someone do this? Does someone do that? Can we get this mail from somebody? Can we do this? Does somebody do business stuff? Can somebody help me with this? Can somebody help me with the paperwork? Can help, right? We have persons that can help with just about anything. But we don't even go through ourselves first. We go through everybody else. And the persons who do this are usually right? You said, are they called the middleman? Well, it can be a middleman, a medium of some type for sure. I'm sorry, forgive me 1 second. Okay, I have to make sure I can see see young Solomon. Um, but yeah, so the middleman is for sure there, right? But these middlemen, these middle persons or whatever, they work towards what? Towards making sure that the master, to making sure that the person who's over them is going to be able to get exactly out of it what they want and what they need and what they require. So exactly, if we have no meat in the storehouse, if we have no way of talking to each other, getting with each other, if we don't start meeting with each other, I've said this before, we by accident have done it to where we've actually delivered food. This is before any land, anything like that. We've accidentally delivered food from South Florida all the way up to New York, just because it's just so happened that like stuff was passing and passing and passing. It was like a one-time thing. It was something we were talking about doing. It kind of started. I didn't even realize it happened. And then after, like while it was happening, I was like, oh wow, there's going to be stuff. Like it would stop. It would be like somebody was helping this person who helped this person, and this person helped this person, who helped this person, and there was stuff that kept like transferring from car to car to car. And I was like, yo, we got the ability to be able to go up back and forth. Matter of fact, now Minister Stephen, he's about to start his company, right? So or he has started his company. He can take stuff up and down all we need him to. If we wanted, if we really wanted to, we could say, hey, business wise, we already got somebody. It might take us as only one person, so we might have to get this one person, at least, maybe a couple weeks or something like that to be able to go back and forth or something like that. But we could have in 2 weeks just up and down 95, 85, 75 maybe. We don't want to put too much on one person, but heck, if he's getting business like that, he could hire one of y'all. And I know we got drivers in here. Somebody get on the road with him. Now you got two persons. Now he don't even have to take a break. I mean, he can take a break and sleep in the back. You can be up there, still going back and forth. We have this infrastructure, but we don't think about, hey, oh, you did his logo, praise y'all. See, so you even got persons with that. We know Brother TJ could help out. We got some person that could do some stuff musically. Brother Cole might jump in. Shoot, if it's only a short thing, I don't got time. But if it's a short thing, I could put together a 30-second jingle. You know what I'm saying? And we can have that thing posted, and you can have something that's got your brand and all that stuff, everything. We have this within ourselves. So anybody that's done anything up and down there, that could be done. And you get enough of that business going back and forth, shoot, next thing you know, why wouldn't we go to Texas and back and forth to see how that works? And if we start getting enough, shoot, then why wouldn't they open it up and start saying, shoot, well, we just gonna have somebody that does Texas only. We're gonna have somebody that does up into the shot. And before you know that, why not hit SOC West? But you gotta first come as a community, as a group. We should be gatekeepers. We should protect. See, watch this. This goes to a place of we won't even protect our own. Like when I say protect our own, like why don't we protect our own companies? You can protect your own companies by saying, I'm not going to use everybody else's stuff. So if we got Sister Akita doing shea butter, or still those of you who help out with go and do Sister Beverly or etc., right? But if we know somebody doing shea butter and soap and stuff like that, hey, we protect our own. First of all, try it out. Try every spirit to see if it's a Velachim, right? Try out the product, see if it's something that works for you. But if it works for you, and you know this person putting into it, then fine. That person should never have to have a 9 to 5 again, because anybody at SOC or anybody who's of Israel who wants to participate, or anybody who just wants to help out, period. But we would hope SOC more than anybody else. Then fine, we can easily. This is how easy this stuff is, y'all. We can easily make a declaration now that means that person gonna have to fulfill their part of the bargain. We're not gonna be giving out trash, right? But I'm just saying, we could easily make it to where we say, from this point on, nobody. Now, I'm not saying, once again, this is where it becomes difficult, because I'm not going to be that pastor that says, you better do it because I say do it. What I'm saying though is, in all honesty, if we wanted to run this stuff correctly and start making doing this thing, we should easily be able to say, we from this point on don't get soap or shea butter except from thus and such and thus and such. When Sister Dakar is ready to start mass producing that Bruder, forgive me, the CMOS, right? If you get CMOS, we should just make it a point to be like, nobody gets their CMOS unless they get it through her. We'll check it out. We'll see if it's authentic. People be sending me stuff first. I'm the type of person, if I'm going to say, let's do this, I'm going to make sure I put it on me first. But if that's going to be our only person, then when we see it, we say, hey, at least until somebody else in Israel does it, until somebody else at SOC is doing it, if that's our main source, whatever, we're not going to go outside of SOC. And if she's the only one right now, we should be like, yo, okay. And that means that so if we're going to sew into it now, it better be the best of the best, or at least the best that she can do at the time, right? And as long as it's healthy, as long as it's not messing us up, and as long as it don't get us results, let's go ahead and sew into that first. You see what I'm saying? That it could be that simple. But when I start talking like this, what happens is what? We've been taught to be against gatekeepers, not realizing that those who are gatekeepers in your own community who look like you are the ones who are telling you. All right, Dr. T, have a great one. Pastor Dr. Tama. Those who are taught you to end up being against the gatekeeper, so be it. So now, right? But hear what I'm saying. We have that in the community. So you say, I'm going to go and I'm going to get CMOS and blah, blah, whatever. You got somebody to give CMOS. And by the way, we're not going to ask her to bring down the price, but this is what's going to happen. I promise you it will. If we start getting CMOS from this person and they get so many orders and stuff, and they getting so much stuff that it's beyond what they, once again, their cup overfloweth, then guess what they're going to turn around and do? Well, shoot, since y'all helped me get here, hey, you need CMOS, you can't afford whatever the price is, I got you. Right? They start looking out for those that need help, or maybe even get it to where they can lower it because you put them in a position to where they can lower it. Right? This is what we're talking about. And see, like if we get to this spot, it starts making it to where when it becomes your turn, it's easier because now we've seen it happen. We've seen it work here. We've seen it work there. I should not be, and the ministerial staff eventually too as well. It shouldn't only be the Levites that can go ahead and make sure that they can unplug from the system. Because although you will still have a work in the field, you should not have a 9-to-5. That's why, once again, see, what's happened with the 9-to-5 piece is they've tried to make you gatekeepers, even to the place where now you are playing defense against starting your own business. Because you don't see it. You can't see how you could do blah, blah, whatever. But see, if we have this thing where we start literally, we just, like I said, I just gave, not me, Holy Ghost just gave us a blueprint. And just a few of the businesses that were just mentioned today. Like, look, Minister Stephen, distribution, getting it to you, boom, right? There's other truckers that already go up and down the same 95, 85, 75 all day. Now he's employing persons. What is he going to be distributing? On the same East Coast, we already got, on the same East Coast, we already got the soap and body butters, right? So soap and body butter, we sew into that. That person's already decided they're going to walk on faith. They're not even in the 9-to-5 realm. We keep them out of the 9-to-5 realm. Now they have more time, and they have more time to help out with SOC stuff that they want to help out with too. Praise God. Then on top of that, so now they got their stuff going. They're able to put money in the pocket to make sure the stuff is going back and forth distributed. If there's a little extra, we get some orders and stuff going, and we say, hey, Sister Takara, what's up with the CMOS? We start promoting it. The person start getting it or whatever. We be honest with everybody. Hey, she's starting. We're gonna sew into her, give her this much time, and we promise you, you're gonna get orders and everything. And if you need to get maybe a smudge order, whatever, we'll work with her to see if she can do that for you. But long story short, just we're gonna sew into her, and we're asking everybody to do this. She make enough money. We say, okay, hey, we're gonna have Minister Stephen come by. He gonna do you a solid this time. He'll do you a solid. We'll try to even sew into him for doing you the solid. He gonna do you a solid. He gonna come and get some of the order or send somebody for some of the order. Right? He gonna distribute it for you. You ain't even got to worry about FedEx, this, that, whatever. He gonna distribute it. All we ask you is from this point on, right? Even if you have to add a little extra for him doing so, from this point on, hey, we need to make sure that if he does it, you do that, right? You sew into that. Meanwhile, when we show up to Sister Takara's house, what do we show up to? We show up to Bruder's house. He's already doing clothing and stuff like that. He's already doing food orders. So we say, hey, Minister Stephen, you might want to start working on the ability to make sure that you can take frozen orders. We're going to need you to do some frozen orders. right? Because you got to keep him cold. So you got to be able to do the blah, blah, whatever. So you might want to start sewing into that because he already ready. And we're going to have everybody start taking his orders. By the way, when he's going up and down, something else that can help us to get ready for those clothing orders is the fact that Minister Jermaine is on the East Coast. Hey, Minister Jermaine, get your clothing orders together. We're coming through you for our clothing. We're coming through, like literally, we are starting to feed and clothe each other. Oh, by the way, we got Minister Shantae. She does some stuff to be able to help things, and she can present things. She can do events, but also she can literally make arts and crafts and stuff like that. Hey, Minister Shantae, can you get some stuff ready? We're gonna have some people start sewing into stuff because your stuff is off the chain, and if people like little knickknacks and stuff like that to have around the house, they can come to you first too. Like literally, within ourselves, we have the opportunity and the responsibility of ensuring that we grow. As I say all the time, as Holy Ghost has been using me to say all the time, we have the infrastructure. It's there. The infrastructure is there. There you go. She got hats and all that stuff she has the ability to do as well. And she, great product, can do it quickly. And when we see that we can do these things within ourselves, we stop trying to figure out how to do it through everybody else. Right now, we don't think that it's possible. But look, literally, I'm not saying everything is there. I know there's other hygiene stuff that's there, or whatever that we need to get into. But hear what I'm saying, beloved? Like that is how you begin the process. We got somebody SOC that's working on seasonings, right? Everybody could use some seasonings. We can that's something that can go back and forth. We have persons that are growing food all over the place. We can start trading the food, even if we don't sell the food. Somebody could trade it, and then you just pay whatever, maybe a monthly fee to make sure that Minister Stephen's coming. They can take it back and forth. All this infrastructure is here. You don't know how to make sure that you turn the stuff into things properly or whatever. Talk to Brother TJ and get some kind of coaching on it, and make sure that you sow into him for giving the coaching. You want some help with business or how to register the business? Go to Minister Anais. I mean, I can help you, but I'm being honest. There's more than just me. Sow into each other. Even if I could do all the stuff and make all the money for myself and then turn around and say, okay, I'm going to use all the money y'all giving me to do the blah, blah. Like, that don't even make sense. Sow into each other. I'm a thief at that point. And I'm not supposed to be doing all the stuff like that. I'm supposed to basically be the assembly. I'm supposed to work in the field. If y'all tells me to do something, yeah, from time to time, okay, I'll make a bunch of shirts. From time to time, I'll put a little bit of music out there from time to time, but that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is bringing us together. That includes the gifts and the callings. What are we going to do to make sure that we support one another, that we grow like this? We have 2 meetings tonight. How many persons are going to show up to the Central North regional meeting with Canada and the Carolinas, and the other meeting that's earlier with the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and the Caribbean? How many of us are going to invite persons to these meetings that are SOC even? At this point, it's not that, like, I'm being honest. I'm going to keep on pressing. I told you guys when we started this stuff, I was going to get irritated with this. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not because we're not contacting each other, not because Pastor Kofi didn't give you this or that, or not because you guys can't, you guys haven't been able to. Sorry. So we're not talking to each other because I didn't make sure there's a directory. Because there's enough information out about each other that we can easily call, contact, text, talk to each other. It's that we won't at this point. We will not. We shan't. We shall not. That's it. It's a choice at this point. It's not because of lack of infrastructure. It's not because this ain't updated, that's not updated. I mean, there's some of that for real, and a lot of that's because it's one person doing it or 2 people doing it, and sometimes a third person. And so if you're going to get that, hey, it's going to be difficult to be doing worldwide stuff and having 2-3 people at the most doing some stuff, right? And even when people say they'll help this and that or whatever, I know people go through things, but I go through things and stuff like that. But hear what I'm saying? This is when it's important for me to be what a lot of persons don't want me to be. This is when I got to turn to the gatekeeper. Right? You want me to be nice. Sometimes the gatekeeper has to say, this is not allowed, and this is the only stuff that's allowed. And being honest, we are not having issues with contacting each other because we can't get each other's information. Anybody who has my information and can text me could easily say, text me so and so's number or so and so in my area or this, that, whatever. Could you text me the sister stuff? Could you make sure I'm on this for the brothers? Could you blah, blah, right? There's ministerial staff. You could easily do that. Even with the website not being updated as much as I would like it to be, you can go on there and find out what minister on the staff does this, that, or whatever. And I'm not trying to air out business. I apologize if we come off as this, but I'm being led by the Holy Ghost. Like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't watch this. I don't want to talk about this. I need to talk about it because I'm being led to and instructed. But let's be honest, right? I can still, and I need to finish up, and even if it's a basic one for now, even if it's just listing company names or what persons do, even if I don't have all the information on there, I need to have a directory finished. Should have been done at this point years ago, to be honest with you. It kind of sort of was. Persons didn't like the first one that we did, so it is what it is, right? It probably wasn't great enough. That being said, anytime anybody needs anything, you can do the same thing that y'all do all the time, which is text or email or call. If you need some food and your husband out with the car, uh-oh, we just lost signal. How we lose signal? Interesting. Got 5 bars and got no signal. Praise Yahweh. This must be a great word. Can you guys hear me on YouTube at all still? TikTok, they got rid of it. Okay, you can hear me on YouTube? Okay, I'm going to try and let me see if I can get them restarted on TikTok. See what it does. Black man, advantage the stoplight. Interesting. Yeah, they're blocking me without blocking me. That's interesting. They're blocking me without blocking me on TikTok. Yeah, they got a hold of the signal. Okay. So we'll try to get them back on. But long story short, where we're back. So what we were saying, yeah. So really, it's not even at that point. At any time, anybody could connect. Like if your husband was out at the store and you wanted something to eat, what'd you say? Hey, babe, where are you going to eat? If your wife was out and she was, and you wanted something to eat, what would you do? Hey, babe, I don't feel like cooking right now. Is it all right if you stop by so and so, give me something to eat? We have no problem with it. In the kingdom, we have a problem with it though. But in our everyday walk, we don't have any problem with that, and nor should we, right? It's the same thing in the kingdom. It's not that I can tell you straight up, Minister Elisha, before it was shown, and then of course her and Minister Yasab were going through some things with family a lot recently, but they were about it, texting, calling, group text, hey, is everybody ready to meet up, this and that or whatever, and still no answer. Right now, prayerfully, she keeps pushing through, but I can't blame her if she took a quick hiatus from it, especially if somebody's going through the vicissitudes of life, just the natural, normal progressions and stuff out of life. I can't be mad if somebody's trying their best to be there for the group, be there for the diaspora, and all of a sudden, there's nobody present, nobody giving towards it. I can't blame that person for that. Yeah, they still got us up. Okay, there we go. TikTok might be coming back. There we go. Yeah, they got our thing pinged out here. That wasn't a normalcy. How you doing, Brother Emmanuel? Appreciate you. Appreciate love you. So yeah. So sorry about that. So yeah, the numbers went extremely down in those couple minutes. But I was just basically saying, long story short, I can't blame those who are doing what they're supposed to do with that. Because even if we had, I'm be honest with you, even if we had a directory, prayerfully, I can at least give a basic one, even if you have to ask more information about the stuff. But the directory, I see you, babe. Thank you. The directory is even if we got it done today, how many persons are going to make it a point to be like everything that I'm getting is going to come through this directory? You know, I hear this a lot. I've learned this is kind of gatekeeper behavior somewhat. I hear this a lot from our diaspora where people will say, well, once it's there, then we'll start doing it. I'm here to tell you that if somebody needs you to always have something done before you move, you're going to be somebody who's going to have a tough time. Normally, this is how it works. If somebody has to always have everything together before you move, you're going to be somebody who really doesn't have faith. And I'm not trying to belittle anybody, be mean to anybody. I'm not trying to say that that's an out for me to not be doing what I'm supposed to do. No, I get I'm not perfect. I get that I have shortcomings. I get that we're, biting off a lot more than I can chew. That's why we need Yahweh, right? I get it. This is something that we're going through the process. We're learning how to do stuff. We're growing. We're doing stuff that not really anybody else is doing. And we're trying to go back to behavior that we should have never left. So even sometimes on my end, I drop the ball. I get it. I have no problem admitting that. That being said, beloved, just keeping it a buck. That being said, though, with all that being said, we still have to get to a place to where our response, as the song says, my response is hallelujah. My response is to move in the highest praise. Yeah, that was weird. That was somebody finding my IP and messing with it. The way that worked, but I'll leave that alone. But we got to recognize and realize, as much as we don't want to hear it, I told you I'm gonna be annoying with this push. You know, there's got to be a space to where we're pushing together, we're working together. As much as you might not want to hear it, as much as you're like, no, and I know you're busy, I know, I get it, but guess what? I'm still supposed to. I'm supposed to make sure that I'm making hospital visits, and I'm supposed to make sure that I'm on several times a day. And I'm supposed to make sure I'm posting on different platforms, and I'm supposed to make sure I'm answering questions. And I'm not trying to complain or compare. We have different lives, and your lives are busy for different reasons, and my lives are busy. What I'm trying to tell you is, we all have to put in. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, where we're putting the stuff in. See, once again, remember I said earlier, what was the two questions we asked earlier about the gatekeepers? The first one, everybody answers pretty quickly because that's easy. First question, do you want to be kept? Everybody goes, yes, I want to be kept. Second question, who do you want to be kept by? And whoever you're sowing into is who's going to end up keeping you. This is why your tithes and your offering or your tribute or your gifting of any kind, see whoever you're giving into. Right? I'm being honest with you. This is the part that a lot of persons don't want to hear. It is what it is. But whoever you're sowing, who are you sowing? And I'm not even just talking about SOC. Fine, if you want to talk about Israel in general, if you want to talk about the black community, but I'm telling you right now, right? Who are you sowing into that's making sure that they're talking about food for your diaspora? Not talking about it as far as you should have food. I'm talking about we're trying to figure out how to distribute it. And then persons won't won't show up for it, won't be involved with it, won't ask questions about it. And if it doesn't move fast enough, they go, okay, whatever. What I'm saying is, like, look, I'm trying to be careful because we're not supposed to do business from the pulpit. I'm not doing business. I promise this is not going to turn into an SOC community meeting. This is just, it's okay. I feel a certain way about it. It's on my heart. So obviously I'm going to say it with some passion. That being said, I'm not coming at anybody. I want you guys to hear what Holy Ghost is saying, right? And what we as a nation should be saying together and be honoring together. All right? I want you to hear that. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not frustrated, but I'm passionate about it. Okay? Is that all right? I hope that's all right. Look, this is only going to move as much as we move together. Right? This is only going to move as well as we move together. That's all right. Thank you, babe. Right? It's not going to move off of 1, 2, 3 persons here or there, right? Every time, right, that we now I'm not saying you have to be at every meeting, every Zoom meeting, this and that or whatever, but hear what I'm saying. Every time that you're available, press, if you don't mind, right? If you know that you need to be available on Saturdays for some of the stuff, press. Ooh, come on now, show up. Remember, y'all recall that word from what last week? Was that Thursday night, Tuesday night? I don't know, Monday night, somewhere in here. Press towards the market of high calling and show up. If we at least show up, we at least see. Once again, here's one of the things here's another word we got to use. Start using more often. It's habitual. It's a habit. How you doing? Remember me. Thank you for the love. It's a habit. If this doesn't become a habit, we're not going to do it. You're not going to do what's not habitual. If you don't go to the gym, right? If you get a gym membership, go to the gym 3 times and then don't go again, right? You're not going to, and you don't go again for like 2 more weeks. I promise you're probably not going to go again for the rest of the year. Maybe 2-3 times more for the rest of the year. But if you go to the gym for 30 days straight, yeah, it might take that commitment. Even if you're not lifting every time, but you just make sure you show up. Even if 2 or 3 of the days you sit there, but you might need to go to the gym every day, just so that when you hit day number 31 and you try to relax and rest and be like, I'm not going, your body says, we got to do something. Because we're used to getting up around this time. I can't help it. On the days that I just had off, I was still up 5 something, walking around thinking about things for something. I still had an itch to study 6 something. I was contacting and connecting with folks as if I was going to be on the live, even though I wasn't going to be on the live around 7 something, because it's a habit. At 8 something, we got to be on. Right? At least that's my mindset. At 8 something, okay, nobody's doing anything, blah blah, and I'm trying to rest and relax. So I'm trying, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. I'm gonna do some stuff. Maybe I'll go outside. Maybe I'll just sit here. Maybe I'll just be on my phone, twiddling my fingers, whatever. Maybe I'll rest. Maybe I'll just rest. I don't, But my body says at 8 something, where you at? Even when I get tired on a live session, and I start to give out, or I'm tired, or like my body starts hurting or something like that, and I try to end early. Obviously, Holy Spirit will say something as well. But if I try to end early, my body will come in sometimes. Now, sometimes if the word is over, the word is over. But if I try to end early just because I'm maybe not feeling something, or maybe I'm frustrated, or maybe I'm not getting the thought across, and I'm kind of ready to give up, my body comes in and is like, what you doing? It's not time yet. Stay committed. When all you've done to do is stand, keep standing. And then as soon as I keep standing, 2-3 minutes later, I'm locked back in. Holy Ghost sends something else. Next thing you know, I'm talking about something different. And I'm like, wow, had I given up, I would have missed out on what Yahweh had for us. We would have missed out. Right? We got to press. Because ultimately, you are the gatekeeper. I want to say this about SOC, and then I'm done. I promise you this. I hope this didn't come across like an SOC community meeting, but it is what it is. Holy Ghost said, moving this way, I'm obedient. However, I want to say this about SOC. I'm still led, by the way, and then I'm going to take my lead. So I don't want to say I need to say it. Excuse me. I got to stop saying want. Want means lack. I need to say this about SOC. I'm led to say this about SOC. We are awesome. We're doing great. Don't ever get it twisted. Right? SOC, and I believe this with every fiber of my being. I don't say it too often due to the fact that persons probably already think that I'm conceited to a certain level as is. I believe that SOC, I'll say might be, because I'm obviously I'm biased. I believe that SOC might be, or it has the ability to become but it just might be the greatest hope for many of our diaspora across the world concerning freedom. We are a group that doesn't mind speaking on racism, colonialism, colonization, uh, law, natural law, kingdom law, law of attraction, science, supporting men and women. We have a great infrastructure in place, and but I want to even talk about generationally. I need to talk about even generationally. Generationally, do you know that if what SOC stands for, look, those of us, and I pray Yahweh that you guys have seven plus. Everybody listen to me. I pray that you have 7+ more decades to go at least. Amen. Right. Of course, eternity is on the other side, but 7 more decades at least. I pray that seriously. That being said, I also really believe that before our time is up, right? If we could actually put into place 70% of what we say we stand for, I would like 100, but certain things may not be for us. But 70% of what we stand for, if it were put in place for the next generation and then mess around and then we see it happen in the generation after them, I can't. I get emotional thinking about stuff like that because I can only imagine what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this thing were to be 2 generations down the road, and we saw the grandbabies of this, so to speak, coming up and what we believe in, and we saw the babies coming up and married into what we believe in and stuff, and doing this and coming up and having the ability to say, we can stay on this land, we can stay on that land, we can stay on that land. Wherever we stay, we're developing land for ourselves. We have our businesses going, we have community going, we have countries going, we have language going. We don't have to worry about this stuff. And even as the United States corporation breaks down around them, they are solid. And if somebody tries to take what they built, they are solid. This ain't gonna be, no offense, this ain't gonna be Tulsa to where we're gonna wait for you to come inside. I'm not trying to be, I'm just being honest with you. We're not gonna teach them to wait like they did in Tulsa. You know, in Tulsa, there were a lot of, thank you for the love there. In Tulsa, there were a lot of former soldiers, former military members who were there, and sharpshooters who eventually started fighting back. But because they let them come in, they let them come too close, and they were already doing business with certain things that was allowing them to be able to be broken down from the outside, or really from the inside. But can you imagine like a group of persons who get themselves together, protect themselves, can remain private, can be all over the place, can start having territory in other countries and stuff, expanding, becoming kingdom, letting Yahweh be our king, right? Allowing those who are ministerial staff to actually focus their entire lives on that. Like, can you imagine? Well, we get to the point to where, see, this is the next generation of Levite coming up. The next generation of Levite is going to be raised as a Levite. I kind of sort of was, but obviously I wasn't in the truth my whole life. I'm talking about these Levites are going to come out their whole life living and learning and believing in Yahweh from the Savah, from the Kefer, from the scroll, from the Bible, the entirety of it. How you doing, Brianna? Right? And as they come into that, right, that's the entirety of their lives. Right? Their morality is number one, the entirety of their lives. Can you imagine what that looks like? Protecting our sisters is the entirety of their lives. Honoring their parents, having longer life, the entirety of their lives. The entirety of it. Them not knowing, being intimate with, them not knowing anything else to be true. They are aware of those things, but it's not true. Having an entire community to where we can have our own paperwork for our own children. They don't have to register with anybody to have existence. See, right now, a lot of you have to register your children because you don't have a place for your children to reside unless they're registered. You really do, but it feels like you don't. But imagine there are places all around the earth. And if you say, I want to travel somewhere, I'm telling you, see, well, I'm not, this is not just a small thing. Could you imagine that we get to a place, we eventually get a place that's on the water? And even if we just got to go by boat, so be it. We get a boat, and so we say we're going to have so-and-so travel to another place that's in our territory. And we decide they're going to go from Florida, maybe. I don't know. Florida, we ain't got nothing there right now. I'm just saying, let's say they're going to go from Florida, and we're going to put them on a boat that's ours. And we're going to go ahead and go from there to Ghana. It might take them a little while, but so be it. Eventually a plane, right? And all that stuff. But I'm just saying, they can get on and they can go wherever they want, because we don't have to worry about, are you in somebody else's stuff? This is how you expand the kingdom. See, somebody who is a Roman Catholic, and forgive me, we're going to go a few minutes over if you guys are okay with that. I apologize. It's about to be 11 a.m. Eastern New York time. I promise you I'm pretty much finished. I'm just making this last point. Somebody who's a Roman Catholic, the Roman Catholic can get, hear what I'm saying? The Roman Catholic, they can get on, they can go and move from here to here to here to here. That's why even when they do these nasty things they do to children, you can't even do anything to them, because the Roman Catholic Church, every Roman Catholic church, every Roman Catholic school, the Vatican, etc., all of them are considered to be a country. So whenever you go there, you're going to their territory. This is why I told you guys at some point, SOC is going to have to register as even, they don't call it a religion, but basically it's going to be registered as what you might call a religion, right? Not trying to make it something where it's got to be separate from Israel, but why would we do that by law? Because by law, if it's separated by religion, well, then whatever we own, that's SOC. Oh yeah, you can build another nation inside of a nation. I mean, that's how you have the Amish. You know. I mean, there's already, Native Americans that you can say for different reasons, but there's Native Americans all over the place, supposedly with their own land. We know how that works, but yeah, you have Amish land, many different types of Amish land, and a lot of stuff we're going to do, especially how it's going to be written out, is going to be patterned after the Amish, right? Now you can say the Amish is not, but no. When you go into Amish country, you have different police officers. When you go into Amish country, it's against the law to be using electricity, right? Unless they say you're allowed to. When you come into Amish country, you better not be taking pictures of the Amish, because they consider it to be graven images. You'll get arrested. It's a different law. Now, if you're around here, you can take your phone anywhere in public. But when you're on Amish land, what is that? That's private. Not only private land, but private law. And yes, exactly. I would thank you, babe. The United States of America is technically a nation inside of another nation, because the United States is a corporation. 28 USC 300215 subsection A. United States is a corporation. So as a corporation, it's an artificial person. So whenever you have United States law, let's say I'm in the state of Maryland right now. United States law in the state of Maryland, a state is a country is a state. So a real country, Maryland, has to come into agreement with other countries and allow an artificial person or artificial corporation to have some kind of law or ruling over its own residents that are registered with them, because they're registered with the state first, because the state is the actual country, right? Just like Pennsylvania is the Commonwealth, it's the actual Commonwealth. But if you're going to do business up in Pennsylvania, Maryland and Pennsylvania, guess what you got to do? You got to go through what? Law. You got to go through lawfully. You got to go through what? You have to go through something that connects the two together. Now, what a lot of these places do to connect it together is they use a federal corporative law, a fake law, version of law, right? Legalese, and they do that through each other. It's known about this stuff. Matter of fact, it's so well known. Didn't somebody recently? I think I saw something recently where there was a person, there was a gentleman, and I don't like you guys know who I mean when I say gentleman. There was a gentleman who I believe was in the military, or maybe he was in the CIA, FBI. I can't recall what his uniform was or what he wore. He was being questioned by somebody in Congress, and the person asked him a question about, hey, basically, what do you find that there's anything wrong with you giving me what I'm asking for? And the guy said, no, I don't find anything. I know that the United States is a corporation, and therefore everything, and we've signed up, we've agreed that what we're going to get, what we're going to give to you, we give to the corporation. Therefore, you being the person on the board of the corporation should get everything you're supposed to get. I don't recall who this was. I wish I had taken like a screenshot or like saved it or screen recorded it, because I would love to show it to you guys, because he literally used the exact language that we say. He straight up in Congress was like, yeah, of course we would give you whatever you asked for, because we belong, we answer to the corporation of the United States. And so we have to make sure that you on the board of the United States get it. So he's talking to a congressperson on the board. Remember the board, right? You have a board, president, vice president, secretaries, treasurers, congresspersons, cabinet members, all that stuff. That's a board. So he was telling them straight up, yeah, if I belong to the corporation, if I work for the corporation, then I have to give you whatever you ask for on the board. I wish I had recorded that. I'm gonna try and see if I can find it. But yeah, so anyways, though, if we ever get to the place where SOC could be, even if it's a piece of it, a fraction of it, and not the whole thing, life, I believe it's, like I said, I'm biased. I believe it might be one of the greatest hopes, of definitely one of the greatest organizations and the infrastructure that we have, if we would just use it. Okay, I like that, Brother Craig. I like that, Sister Monica. Okay. Amen. We will. When we get there, amen. It will be. It shall be. Praise y'all. So anyways, thank y'all, beloveds. I'm over time already. It is what it is. So we're gonna take our leave and do a quick shout out. We'll just let the music play. That lets you guys kind of see over the water or whatever, I guess, or see out the back. And we'll do a quick shout out. Thank you all for being on. Appreciate you. Love you. We have 2 meetings tonight on Zoom. We have 3 things going on tonight, but we have 2 meetings going on Zoom tonight. 7 p.m. Eastern New York time should be our regional meeting for the Carolinas. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and the Caribbean. And then we'll have our live session on Kofi_42 on TikTok and live session on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern New York time, we should have our regional meeting on Zoom for those in the Central North region and Canada. So that's Canada, all of Canada, Minnesota, Missouri, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. I think I got all those. All right. So prayerfully, we'll have that for you guys. Prayerfully, you guys can attend. We look forward to having you guys in attendance. We honor you. We love you, appreciate you. We lift you up in value. We hope that you guys continue to do great, marvelous, and majestic things that allow y'all to work in your life. And we'll just play a little bit of music for you guys real quick. Prayerfully, you'll be able to hear the music that we play over the music that somebody's starting to blast from across the way. But thank you all again. We really, love you, appreciate you. We hope that you got something out of today. Forgive me as I'm moving as we're speaking. So we shall see you guys. Actually, if we don't see you this evening, for all the stuff that we have going on, prayerfully, we'll see you guys on Thursday. So tomorrow is my day off. So we shall prayerfully see everybody around tomorrow. And hopefully you guys will be able to be in. I'm sorry. We shall see everybody. If we don't see you this evening, we shall try to see everybody on Thursday. After Thursday Rising Prayer, of course. Then we'll try to see everybody in the Rising on Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern New York time. And then we'll continue our teaching and stuff at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time on Thursday. We've been on time. Thank you for your prayers and everything. And now that things are getting a little better situated, prayerfully we'll continue to have no problems with being on time and everything. But we thank you all. We honor you. We hope that you guys have a great day. Continue to go towards the expected blessing, hashtag expect the blessing. And so much more that obviously Yahweh has for us. We're thankful and grateful for you all again. Happy born day to all the August born days. Yam Yasalav to you. And we did mention this, but we're going to try and start seeing about possibly getting on the road soon. We've been talking about it for a little while now. So those of you, it's going to start in the Baltimore and DC areas. So you guys keep looking for those dates to come out, and those that are in surrounding places. And as we go down to Georgia and stuff like that, those of you who are stops that you will be able to make here or there, we hope that you guys are able to attend and able to join us. But we appreciate, love you once again. We hope that you guys take care. Thank you to the ministerial staff, the moderators, SOC, Lada, and everybody. If it's your first time, one time of many, I do apologize about the signal piece. They got us on that today. I couldn't really do much about that, but prayerfully, you guys, whatever you need from today and the Holy Ghost spoke to you. We're going to get ready to do our shout out. If you're not aware how the shout out works, just stick around after we do the dismissal, and I'll tell you how that works real quick. It's a little different than what we normally would do, but still, I'll show you how that works. Tada, Chastel, thank you for everybody for being on. We give our honor and praise once again to Yah and to the honorable to Yahweh for the honorable Amma. And we honor you all. Thank you, young Solomon, for being here today with us and spending some time with Dad. And we'll get ready to pack up soon, sir. I know you're ready to move around a little bit. So thank you for being obedient. And we appreciate you all. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Earlier, Davai Shalom to those of you who are keeping up with the days of the week. And if I don't see you tonight for the regional meetings or for the live session, prayerfully we'll see you on Thursday. And thank you all again. You guys take care. Have a great evening, and be safe. For those of you who are still with us,